Got a cough. Right, okay, so for the benefit of the other channel, hello and welcome. Hopefully that's running all right. We're in the Shark today. This is the Shark 3. I'll go through the startup, and as it's the first time, this may be boring to some of you, but if one person learns something new today, then, you know, that's always a bonus. Star Citizen's out. I'll be doing a Star Citizen stream possibly tonight. And compared to how it has been running, it is pretty damn smooth. I think tonight will be a bit of a ranty one though, for a whole host of reasons, but nothing to do with how the game's running, because when I tested it out when I come back home yesterday, it was amazingly smooth and running at a good frame rate on every aspect of it. However, I think they've got 10 servers running to make it work with 500 players. So that's interesting. Right, we're going to put on battery 1 and 2, which is by the right knee. We're going to turn around and look at the right elbow, and we're going to switch on the ECRAN and transmission power. We're then going to turn around to the dashboard and hit the master caution, which you can see there flashing. And then we're going to look down to the left hand thigh, and we're going to switch on the KO41 targeting and something button. We'll switch on the Abris. See now why I repeat these things. And then we're going to switch on the forward, aft and fuel QTY. And we're going to pop up the APU fuel flow on this fuel panel here. Note the button stays up when you do it. We're going to look over to the left and hit the start button. Good morning, mate. Are you coming in today? I don't feel obligated because I know you have other things to do besides this. And we should see the APU starting up. We can hear it definitely. Once it's up to 7, it'll light up the third light, and then it'll drop down. And I have a feeling my volume is going to be ridiculously high, so we'll see. Okay, now that's up, we can switch on the fuel for the left-hand engine. I think there's something I forgot, but I'll pick it up in a minute. And we'll do the fuel flow for the left engine and the EEG for the left engine. We'll look down here and we're going to switch the little switch down to the left-hand engine. And I may have forgotten, yes I did, to press the rotor brake down. If you don't press that down, it's always a good idea to do it after the APU, because when you start the engine, you'll see that the engine slowly starts but the rotors don't turn, so it all stalls. We're looking for the needle here, okay, on the RPM to get to 20%. I'm shutting the doors. Yeah, this is going to be loud, isn't it? Once it gets to 20%, we're going to hit the left engine cutoff, and we'll see the exhaust gas temperature rotating round. This is going to blast my ears. I need to adjust that before I even start. Put it down to about there, and let's see how it goes. Okay, so the engine's starting up, and there's not a lot we can do until it reaches around about 70%. When it's on 70%, it should be on idle. Thank you very much for the follow. And am I right if I said we got no engine noises coming out? Is that right? Can everybody hear any engine noises or not? One, two, because it all seems a bit quiet to me. Or is it just me? Just wondering if I've lost my game sound. Can anybody hear that in game? Right, there's something obviously odd. I was playing with the audio earlier, and the reason being is that I can't get the audio to work for me. You know, the in-game comms, it's worked perfectly before. So I've now got to find out why this isn't working. There's no audio noise. Right, so let me see. That one's working there. That one's working there. That one there. Don't you just love it? You can't quite tell until you start doing everything. So let me try something. I do apologise, bear with me. It's really weird trying to fly with really no audio. So that's there, that's there. That one's going there. It's on game. Ah, right, I think I know what it is. Right, yeah, that makes sense. The thing is, when you start doing what I'm doing, it's a pain in the ass, because if I can find that one. Right, you've suddenly got audio now. Right, is that better? Yep, you got audio, I think. I don't seem to have audio. Get there in a minute though. Turn that there. Push that there. And then finally, let's go up to it. It is a pain in the ass. I'll move that up to about there. That's not too loud for you guys, is it? Certainly not too loud for me. Can I just check I can hear everybody okay? Yeah, that's fine. Is it still too low at the moment? Or is that about right? Hello, Drop Dead by the way. And Squirrel, welcome to the channel. Yeah, I think it's just because of the way I've got it inside the cockpit. Okay. It's because the cockpit usually is a little bit quieter. I keep getting shouted at by stuff inside, which is one of the other reasons I was messing. But anyway, thank you everybody for the help there. So we got the first engine up and it's running at idle, which is about 70%. Going to start the other engine up. So same process, right hand EEG, which is the electronic engine governor. Right hand fuel shut off. And then we're going to turn around and move the little toggle down to the right hand engine, hit the start button, alter our view so we can see the RPM for the right hand engine. We can see it just drop, and again wait till it gets to the 2 or 20% RPM, and then we'll hit the engine cut off lever up, and you'll see the exhaust gas temperature increase. There we go. So you know you got a good engine start. While we're waiting for that, we're going to just adjust a couple of switches. This is the voice warn toggle on this front panel here. That will switch the Bitchin' Betty on to audio mode instead of just saying watch ekran, which means screen apparently in Russian. And we need to also put the intercom on there, otherwise we won't hear it. So when I go to the next step and move the engines into work mode, we'll get a series of messages, and they're either going to be quite reasonable or I'm going to get shouted at, and you'll see what I mean in a second. Okay, that's good. So now we need to move the engines here into work mode. So it's like a throttle up, however it's a switch and there's no button you can switch. So I'm going to hit page up twice and listen to the 3 messages. Okay, so electrics on battery was the first one, and if we look, we need to switch the AC system generators on, which are using the engines to generate power. The other one was Doppler navigation system, which will come on in time when we get to that point. And it also said there was no nav power. So this is something that is unique to the Shark 3. You don't see this in the Shark 2. So the way we do that before we carry on is we're going to switch this navigation system on. We're going to turn around and look at the right shoulder, and we're going to switch on the INU, inertial navigation unit. When we look back in the hood, you'll see this symbology here right in the middle at the centre, and note there's no ribbon either for your heading. So as soon as this is gone, then we can make some changes. Okay, so it's about a 3-minute alignment. So if you've got any questions, please jump in now. I'm going to cough, excuse me. Right, okay, if anyone's got any questions, if you want to jump in with us, if you're new to DCS, if you're thinking about DCS or you're DCS curious, please jump in and ask. There is a sale on at the moment. I can't remember when it's a sale on to, probably in January sometime. But if you're on holiday, it gives you the opportunity of testing some of the things out and then making a purchase while you're still getting like 30, 40, 50% off some things. There should be a lot of the things for sale, but they do have varied prices. How's the other side, Kev? Is that okay as well, audio-wise? So we've just got to wait for this alignment, by the way. Let me put the sun shield on so you can see what's going on here.
Yeah, it's fine.
Excellent, thank you. Can't believe how loud the chat bot is now. It's really loud on my end. It's probably breaking through the oh, what is it? I can't remember what the filter is called. But when I stop talking, it shouldn't pick up the engine sounds through the speakers. Anyhow, anyone doing anything exciting? I hate that, you know, the fact that I can't control the bloody window, which will keep dropping in the other channel to desktop because of the way that it works. And I was trying to find a way around it during the week, but I haven't managed. It's nice to see you all on, by the way. If you got any questions, please ask. For the benefit of the other channel, I'm also broadcasting this on Twitch at the same time, and as you can see, when I'm having to switch apps, it drops the channel down to desktop for other viewers. Nobody got any questions? Everybody's really quiet. Is there anybody new to DCS or is thinking of getting into DCS? Anyone got any questions on the Shark? Does that mean everybody already knows the Shark? Because if that's the case, I might do something intentionally wrong, just to see if anyone spots what's gone on. No reaction. Okay, as you can see now, we've got a ribbon. We can also see that there's a problem, and we've got a 10-degree separation between our heading and our trimmer system, which I'll explain in a minute. So what I'm going to do now is just jump into the map, click on the helicopter, and when I click on the helicopter, we'll see that my heading here is 176. That's normal heading, and 169 is magnetic. So I'm looking at 176, and then we're going to look down. Let's move back a little bit. There's a little knob just down to the right there, if I can zoom in, and we can see it's set on 7. So we're going to spin that knob. Pardon? Okay, you in Shark as well? Okie dokie. So I'm going to spin this up to... Was it 176? It was, wasn't it? And then once it's up to 176, we'll make a slight adjustment. And what that will do is align the weapons system. There we go, that's perfect. We're going to pop this needle down. If I move this, it says MH man. I'll pop it down and back to the middle.
1805 said, hey, what's one of the easier modern modules to learn?
You've got no specific preference, I take it, by that question. And are you talking helicopters or planes? Because there's an easy helicopter one to learn, and I mean you'll be in it and up in the air within minutes once you know how to start it up, but it's very tricky to fly and takes quite a lot of practice, whereas the aircraft again is fairly straightforward, but then you've got all the systems at the back of it. So what's your preference, helicopters or planes? Or would you say a Hue is not modern? Just if you got any specific thing you want to do, you know, PvP, PvE, air-to-air, bombing the shit out of stuff, taking off on ships and things, which is always good fun. Then obviously that will depend on the choice, because there's quite a few different things.
Correct. I'd say jet.
You want a jet then? In that case, I would suggest the F-18. Startup is relatively easy. You can test all the modules as far as I'm aware, and the maps completely for free, so you don't have to buy anything. Okay, yeah, the F-18, that can also do ship work, so you can take off and land on ships, which is always an experience in its own right.
Said, yeah. This is a good all-rounder.
It's also very good for air-to-air, and it's very good for air-to-ground, to be quite honest. Startup is extremely simple compared to most things, and then once you can get the idea of the startup, you want to practice landing using on speed, which is the system it uses if you do it properly, and by doing that you're also practicing for when you do get on a carrier. But yeah, you can load up with a whole load of bombs and weapons, BVR stuff and all sorts. But then it gets deeper. But you know, on the first sort of wave of it, it's a relatively easy aircraft to get up in the air. Okay, that is the first one I would recommend to anybody who has no preference in terms of fast movers, as they're called, is the F-18. If you've not tried DCS before, make sure you've got a joystick. Whilst there are elements of it you can do with a controller, to be honest, you're going to run out of buttons and hands, because as soon as you need the keyboard, which you will, a controller becomes a little bit useless, and there's too many switches and buttons for you to try and, you know, cram onto a controller, to be fair. Even the cheapest ass joystick, $30 to $50 max, right, is better than a controller. Even cheaper than that, as long as it's got a hat on. The way this is being constructed lends itself to even something simple with just one button will work.
1805 said, alright, thanks, I realise it takes time to be a master. I'm just looking for something that I can be of some use fairly soon. No,
that's absolutely fine. That makes perfect sense. But start with the F-18. If you've got a simple joystick, that's fine. You can have a combination of your fingers on some of the keyboard controls, and you can multiply out all the buttons on your joystick, and even the axis if you wanted to in certain ways. So depending on what it is you're doing, you know, you can hold a button and you will do up to about 9 different things. That's 9 different 4-way sections, if that makes sense. So it is quite good. Helicopters are quite good fun, and your mates can fly in some of them as well. So if you got a load of mates,
try it for free for a couple
yeah,
of
exactly.
weeks. See how you get on.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would do. The free option is available all of the time, and if you create an account, only download it from DCS. Don't download it from Steam because you won't get this free option. And then you can go onto your account on DCS. You go onto it online, and if you look on the left, you can tick a drop down, and it will show you all the trial licenses. And then you can download any license for anything for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, it will stop. But then you can do everything else, and after 6 months, which it will take you 6 months to get through everything, you can do it all again for another 2 weeks. So you can get a month out of all the maps and all the modules for free, and multiply that out by the number of modules. You've got a year's worth of free flight. All right, you won't get that on Steam. And then they have that many sales, and there's one on at the moment that you know, as soon as the weather changes, there's another sale. So we've got winter at the moment. We'll have Chinese New Year. We might even have a New Year's sale. We might have a first flake of snow sale or a spring sale. Do you see what I mean? So, you know, you don't need to buy it full price, although there's no harm in that because it goes to the devs. Right, so we're going to waypoint 4. On the Shark, it's waypoint 5, and I've yet to finish starting this thing up. So let me go and select my waypoint, which is waypoint 5. Okay, let's put.
You said more sales than allied carpets.
Yeah. Where are allied carpets now? Right, okay, so if you noticed, just before I was asked the questions, we can now see that the heading and the trimmer are aligned. So you see the little triangle in there, that's the heading, and the diamond is the trimmer system. Okay, it's important to do that step, otherwise you'll have problems. Because that's done now, we can carry on starting this up. We're just putting the radios on and the VHF talk. We're going to put the data link on. What number are you, Pup? Okay, I'm 1. So I'll put this on. This is set to number 1. Me and Pup can now communicate, send targets to each other, etc. We're going to put on pitch hold, bank hold and heading hold, and these smooth the inputs to the channels and help with the trimming, etc. We're going to put the fire extinguisher on. We're going to turn around and we're going to put the countermeasures on. Once we've done the L140 laser, put the countermeasures on and make sure they're on there, which they are. Now we can go around and we can switch the APU off, which you can hear in the background. So here's the APU shut off, as it says. Press it and that will wind down, and then we can go and switch the fuel off for the APU valve there. Okay, so now we're ready to go. Let me switch on the axis for you to show you what I'm doing. We'll get rid of the chat box there. The axis, by the way, is right control and enter if anyone's interested. And if we look at the axis box, I'll put it somewhere where you can see it easily. Okay, we can see there a big B flashing, and that's telling me that the parking brake's on. Okay, as soon as I touch one of my pedal brakes, that will go off. So when we're going to take off on the floor or on a proper bay, we really want the parking brake on, because we're going to roll forward, and we switch it back on again with left shift and W, and it will stop us rolling when we start. The reason for that is if we take off as we are, right, the helicopter will go backwards. So just as it starts to get light, we're going to push the stick, the cyclic, which is the one with the diamond, forward. Okay, when we press it forward, it'll make the helicopter go forward, but it'll want to roll forward, because you can actually take this off on a runway. So we make sure that we push forward as we lift off, and if you're going to roll, you're going to roll into something you shouldn't, right, basically. So it stops that from happening. So I'm going to start raising the collective, and you'll see that indicator there. You can hear the engine change. Okay, and as soon as it starts to get light and starts to lift, I'm going to push the stick forward. There it is. and then we're just going to pop over here, get some weapons, and then I'll talk to you about the trimmer and explain that, and then we'll get off to the target. So I've just seen Pup go over here, which is where we get our weapons from. I take it you've gone for weapons, Pup. So he's over here somewhere. It's really difficult to see with this one, so I am going to switch it off for the time being until it's a little bit sunnier. If anyone's got any questions, please jump in and ask. If anybody wants to come and fly with us, you are more than welcome. We end up sort of sometimes trying to do missions when there's like 2 of us or 3 of us, and this is one of Gash's missions, and they're never exactly easy. There's always something to surprise you. So you can see where the dust clouds are. That's where the other 2 helicopters are. I'm just going to jump in and hopefully not hit them. And just park up or put the chopper down, and then we'll make a request for some weapons. Depends on the type of mission as to whether you've got weapons or not. Well, I can see one chopper. Is the other one over there, or is that just following on from him? Oh yeah, I can see him now. I should be able to get in the middle there somewhere. As soon as I'm sort of coming round by the wall on the left hand side. Whenever you rearm and refuel, you do need specific things for you to be able to do that. You need fuel trucks, ammo tents, command, stuff like that. Otherwise, it's never going to work. So you'll see some of the things in the vehicles kicking around, and that's the purpose of them. I'm just going to pull up here, slowly lower it down, and there's the door. Hopefully that's the last of my parcels. Get down, get down. I'll be back in 2 ticks. Sorry, my head tracking's just gone round with me on the chair. I won't be long. I do apologise for that. Oh dear, that was... I went out. Then it was one delivery, and while I'm waiting, another one turned up because I forgot Lisa's doing stuff as well. And that will make it up to probably 6 or 7 so far today, so it is a little bit interrupting. Right, we're going to get some weapons on this thing now. So we're going to call up the weapons with a left alt and apostrophe. And we'll select the default loadout, and the default loadout, or one of them, and the most common one you bit of tongue likely to use, is the 12 Vickers, or the A4172. They're laser guided missiles. There's 40 rockets and 4 Eaglers. Okay, Eaglers are man pads. I'm not necessarily going to be using those, so I'm going to remove the payload. It's just extra weight, to be honest, and whilst they do work, the last time I tested them, they would go close to the helicopters or the things I wanted to shoot down, but not really do a lot of damage. So I've just basically not bothered with them that much. Okay, so just check my fuel. I'm going to give myself a bit more fuel. We've now got a bit of extra weight, and you can see here we've still got quite a bit of weight that we can play with. So I'm going to give myself a bit of fuel because I talk so much and then I run out of fuel. Okay, we'll say okay, and let's see if we get a copy. So we've got no copy for refueling or rearming, which means we're not going to get anything. So in some of the modules, you need to be in intercom mode or ground crew mode before you'll get anything. So some things don't do that and some things do. It's a bit inconsistent. So if you get no response, it means you're either in the wrong place or you're not on the right radio system. So we're going to turn the radio system round to ground crew, and then we'll try exactly the same request again. So we'll pick up the things, get rid of the igloos, and then we'll up the fuel to about 80% Okay, check the weight, make sure we're not overweight. We're a bit heavier, but that's fine. Now see if we get a copy. There we go, we got a copy. So one of the things to note is it always refuels first. So if you're sitting there wondering why you're not getting any weapons, it's because it'll do this first. In the helicopters, it's relatively quick. In some of the aircraft, you can sit there and think nothing's happening, but it is, okay? So when it's finished refueling, it will tell you it's finished refueling, and then it will move on to the weapons. The weapons, obviously, you can see visually from the outside, whereas the fuel, you're going to have to find your fuel gauge. In this case, it's quite easy. It's down on the right knee on the front dash. And there we go. So now when we look outside on an external view, you'll start seeing weapons coming on the pylon. A little bit close, which is why it's not allowing me to go. Here's the rockets, here's the Vickers. You can see the weight being added on, and that's one thing you need to be aware of. Look, you put more weapons on and you're carrying more weight, therefore that weight is going to affect how this thing flies, okay? And while we're at it, there we go, we're done. If you try and fly away when they're rearming you, sometimes it will knacker the pylons or something like that, or you might find you get problems and you'll definitely get shouted at. So as you can see, the Shark does not have a anti-torque rotor or tail rotor as it's more commonly known, and it's got two rotating blades and they go in opposite directions, and that is to counter the torque, which is why there's no anti-torque rotor. When I move my rudder, you'll see this moves, but that's more of a stabilizer rather than anything else. The two blades are where all the other controls go through. So when you look and I move my cyclic, we've got pitch and roll, plus the rudder all has an effect on those blades. Right, you ready then, pup? Yeah, no worries. I'm going to talk trimming anyway. Right, so there's something which is, yeah, no worries. I would say is fairly unique to this helicopter, right? However, then when the Apache came out, there is a similarity in a different way, right? And I'll show you what that is in a minute. If ever you want to learn the Apache, if you take my advice, you'll learn the Huey first, and then you'll learn the Shark, right? And then you'll go to the Apache. Now, when I say learn it, you don't need to be an expert at it. You need to just understand the basics. So you can get away with spending 2 weeks in the Huey on the free module and 2 weeks on the Shark on the free module. So what I'm going to do now is just set my trimmer to there and explain to you how the trimmer works. Now, I've got no hands, no feet, no nothing, and the helicopter will carry on doing what I've told it to do, okay? If we look at the hood, we can see this is our speed, okay, in kilometers. This is our trimmer and heading. This is a drift, so it shows us how far we're drifting, and this is our height, okay? Now, I've set the trimmer, and what does that mean? It means, oh, let's go up a bit. Doesn't quite mean that. This is a little bit heavy. So basically, when the trimmer's set, right, if I try and move my cyclic to say, right, I want to go over to the left slightly, then it's quite resistant to my controls, and it feels like it's pushing back, which it is. It's exactly what it's doing, right? And the reason for that is the trimmer works on the axis and it controls the first 20% of that control. So for it to move, you've got to push more than 20% to get this thing moving, okay? And now I'm pushing it over there and I got more than 20%. It's going, but I'm still having to push more than I should. And if I let go, watch what happens. So the helicopter slows itself down, turns itself back, and goes back to the speed and the heading that it was doing before I made it go somewhere else. And so your trimmer system has a 20% control authority over your different axes. Now when I go to move, if I want to move and I'm in full control and the trimmer isn't, I press the trimmer button, I hold it in, I set the helicopter how I want it, and when I've finished I'm going to let go of the trimmer button. And it's only when you let go of the trimmer button does the trimmer engage, and you'll see the diamond, which represents where the trimmer's set with the heading, snap to where the heading is. If you watch, there it goes, and now I can let go and the helicopter flies there more or less by itself. As you're going along, you'll see that the speed is increasing. When your speed increases, your height will increase because it basically generates lift. So if I drop the collective slightly, my nose will drop, that will speed up, and I can actually level that out and stop it from climbing if I want to. Okay, I'm still not using my hands and feet on anything. Okay, and I'm backing it off a bit. You see it speeds up, this increases, so I'll back it off a bit more, it speeds up more, and then I'm still backing it off a bit, and then you get an equilibrium where you'll find that it goes to a point where it's moving along and it's not increasing its height. Okay, now if you start to use that properly, it's extremely useful, and it's useful because it takes the pressure off your arm if it was real life. Got a bit of rain there, and it allows you to be able to drink a cup of tea. Right, there's nothing like being able to drink a cup of tea after you've been talking for God knows how long. So let me move this down to 0, and I should see pup. There he is. So as I said, we can communicate, we're on different channels. Also what this will tell me is how far away I am. I'm 23 kilometres from the area we're going, and let me zoom in on the map a bit, because otherwise it looks like I'm going to stick my head up Pup's backside, which I don't want to do. Very nice guy he is, but I'm not that friendly with him. Right, okay. Unfortunately, we do have windscreen wipers, but the rain effects were created long time before the windscreen wipers, and as a consequence, the windscreen wipers are probably 6 inches off the front of the hood and are ineffective. For those of you that watch Star Citizen, if you wipe your helmet with your hand, you'll wipe the rain away, and I think it won't be too long before they actually put something in here. In most cases in planes, they don't need it because the rain will hit the windscreen and blow off. But with the shape of the cockpit here, you'll see we've got a square panel, and it takes a little bit longer, but it's not great when you're trying to fly. Now we can see Pup, there he is, and that matches up with this indicator there. This tells me what number he is, he's number 2, okay, and what direction he's flying in. Soon we'll be seeing his icon lying down on the floor pointing in a different direction, and that's where he got shot down or attacked by squirrels. I was waiting for that. Okay, so sometimes if you fly low over these trees, what will happen is there's attack squirrels waiting at the top of them, and they reach up. Sometimes I've seen them jump and they grab hold of your helicopter and pull you into the trees. So if you hear chuckling in the background, right, you know damn well that's going to be Pup, who's just been pulled into the trees by the squirrels. So we're moving over here, following the little line from where we are to the waypoint. And at the moment I've got my thumb on the button, so my trimmer's disengaged. I've got full control over it. It's telling me that I'm quite close to the trees, a little altimeter radar with a beep, but if I'm low down it sort of makes me less visible to stuff that's flying around to shoot me. In a minute I'll drop down behind this tree line and we'll go off to the right. Pardon? Yeah, we're getting closer, are we? Okay, we just watch out for the air stuff. Have we got air cover, or is everybody on harms? Okay, Stingy's out there as well, I think. You on waypoint 4, Stingy?
I was. I'm going back to refuel, Rian.
Okay. Have to be careful because he doesn't show up on our map exactly. That being, this is a Russian helicopter and he's flying the Apache, which is an American helicopter. Do you see what I mean about the rain? You know, it's all well and good, but it would be nice if you could put the radar on. Where are we? 11 clicks. Okay. Coming in on your right hand side, Pop. Is there anything just over here or not?
It's a bit further left.
Yeah, I'm going to slow down and try and use maybe the town and the trees for cover. Now there's another thing, as I said earlier, when you get less than 50 kilometres, you'll see a line in the centre of the hood. It's a bit closer than I wanted to be. I was just checking that tree out, see if there was a bird's nest in it because of the time of year. And
Van Dulen said, watch out for the squirrels.
yeah, indeed. I've covered the squirrels off, but that one was a little bit closer than I wanted. You have to be so careful with helicopters as well. If you do mad erratic movements, right, you are going to lose your helicopter if you're not careful. Okay, so if you heard just before that warning, that was you heard a rifle. So what I'm doing is creeping down here and I'm going to start slowing down. At the moment we're doing 105. Can you make that out in the hood okay on the stream? Okay. So when I hear rifle, there we go. Once we get below 50, right, we'll see this line. So what I'm going to do now is start just gently pulling the nose back in the opposite direction to that line, and I'm going to slow this down enough that when I switch on my hover, right, which will be now, okay, yeah, good morning, Mort. This will get into auto hover extremely quickly. You can switch auto hover on when you're doing about 12 clicks, and it will slow it down and put it into auto hover. But if you can slow the helicopter down manually first, down to about 1 or 2, if you noticed, as soon as I put it in auto hover, we're already... It's not cheat mode. Oh man, the helicopters have like trimmers and all these things and all these bits and bobs, and now you're accused of cheating. Good grief, man. Cheat mode. I bet you don't use the what's it channels either, do you? Cheat mode's the flight director where you don't even have to fly. You can just sit there and it'll fly itself through to your waypoints.
Energy 999 said, I wish the Apache ZP systems worked as well as they do in the Ka-50.
To be honest, it does.
M0RC75 said, I don't fly the Ka-50.
Oh, it's a fake plane. Ah, oh, is that what it is? It does, Energy. So I'll jump in an Apache a little bit later, and they do work as well. You've just got to, if you were flying a similar thing, have you ever flown the Shark Energy? Or did you jump straight into the Apache as your first helicopter? And anyway, welcome to the channel, by the way, Energy. If you want to jump in with us, matey, you're more than welcome. If you fancy a fly, if anybody wants to jump in, just ask. Right, so if you slow it down enough, you can get...
999 said, I did Shark first because it's the oldest.
Oh, right, okay.
I've got all the heroes except
Yeah,
Shark.
that's fine. So I sort of know where you're coming from. The difference... What I would always recommend, as I said earlier, is start with a Huey to get a good grasp of how helicopters work. You will crash it and crash it and crash it, but you can start it up so damn quick, and you get a feel for all the issues you're going to get with helicopters. When I taught a commercial pilot once, a Huey, he was told that when he was learning, they called helicopters, the instructors did, swirly whirly death machines. And I understand why, because it will have more problems than anything else you'll ever fly, to be honest. It's all three axes that you've got to work all the same time, and because the Huey is so basic, it's you doing all the work and you flying it. And if you can learn that, even as I said on the free module, that's going to help with any other helicopter. When you move into the Shark, you've got automated systems that do this sort of thing for you, okay? And you've got a lot of assistance. But the beauty of it is that the Apache, when you move to it, has got a trimmer system that works in the same way as this, but it doesn't have a 20% hold. So what it does is has something like, and I say this every bloody week, and I never look it up, it's something like 4% and 6%. 4% on the one lot of axis. No, 6% on the one lot of axis and about 4% on pitch. So it's a little bit more twitchy to get it into a hold. But then you've also got a couple of other modes, and it depends on what speed you're doing as to what those two modes do. So you've got an attitude mode, which means you can fly through the air at a slight angle, nose down, switch on attitude mode, and if you're doing over 40 nautical miles an hour, it will say, right, okay, you want to go and hold in attitude, then I can do that. Now, as long as your input doesn't get any more than either 4% for your nose up and down or 6%, I think those are the values, then you're fine. But if you adjust anything and it goes more than that, it will switch off. Now, when you want to slow down and get into a hover like this, if you kill the speed, use the trimmer to lock it down to, again, 1, 2, 3 nautical miles an hour, and then apply the attitude, it will stop. And then it's just a little bit of touch and you'll get it to stop nearly as good as this. What this does is it takes a GPS reading, I think it's GPS, of where you are, and then it uses the trimmer system to hold you in that position. Okay? Whereas if you can get your head around this and understand it, it does help a lot with the Apache. But yeah, it's not quite as solid as this, but as long as you slow it down, you just make it an easier job. Anyway, I need to start looking for things. Right, so at the front of it, you can see that little lens, and that's a camera system, and that's used to find targets, okay? On the right of it, you've got a little laser system which will give you laser guidance and range finding. On the right of that, we've got, is it a 30mm gun or a 20mm? I can never remember. You've got a big fat ass gun sitting there, okay? And then you've got your weapons. So what we're going to do is put this into, put the weapons system on, and then we're going to switch on, right, and arm the weapons. And then we're going to select, if you look here, you've got a picture that represents 2 of the pylons, because the Black Shark only ever has 2 pylons. The third pylon with the Igglers is Eagle Dynamics' way of adding something to this, because they were stopped from doing some of the things to the Black Shark when they planned the upgrade, and they put so much work into it if they scrapped it, they've lost months and months, if not a couple of years worth of work. And to be honest, I understand why. So they've put a little bit of a system in, but not much, and added some extra weapons into a helicopter that never existed in real life. We're currently sitting at 9.6k, so it depends on what targets are in this area as to whether we can reach them. We have a range of about 7.1 clicks for the Vickers. However, that can be extended by switching to manual mode and increasing your height. But if you've got SAMs over there, the last thing you want to be doing is increasing your height. So we're going to have a little look first, and what we're going to do is release the Schwal. That sounds like some Kraken type monster, doesn't it? So we're going to press the button to release it. I think it's O off the top of my head. And then we can move this camera around. Okay. Now, we haven't got the infra system that we would have got had there not been any issues with the permissions. So we have to make do with what we've got. And we can adjust the brightness and the contrast to this screen. Okay, which I'm going to do in a minute. They're just behind this joystick. So you can see here, if we start turning it, it goes dark or lighter. So where it is at the moment, we're quite dark, and I can adjust the contrast as well. Okay. Now, what you would want to do, ideally, is use the camera to find your targets. If you look on the right hand side, you can see a line coming from your helicopter. We can also see the guy who's flying with me, the wingman. And as we move the camera around, this yellow line is going to move. Okay. So obviously it's looking closer to the floor. If you look over there, these trees appear to be somewhere over there, right? And they might even be further back. So this might be me looking too far or not. It's difficult to tell at this range. So what I'm going to do now is move it sideways. Now, as I move this sideways, you'll see indicators here telling me which way I'm looking, left and right. And if we look in the hood, right, a box that has appeared, and I'll show you why that box has appeared. Let me reset it and unset and set it again. So as I move, that's a symbol to represent where the camera's looking, and it shows me in both screens. As soon as that little camera goes off the hood, a box appears, and when that box appears, that's now showing me how far I can go left, right, up and down. Okay. So those are the limits of the gimbal. So if I push this all the way to the left, you'll see in the Abris goes about 35 degrees. I'm not sure what the exact measurement is, and I can also go all the way around to there. And that's actually really, really good. It gives you a good range. However, if there was something over here, I wouldn't be able to see it. And if I now want to look over there, it means I'm going to have to move the helicopter. But it's in a really nice hover. So what you do is you utilise something called auto turn. So over on the left hand side, we've got 4 buttons. I'm going to switch auto turn on. I'm going to release the Schwal. And you see a little bit of drift in the helicopter. It could be the wind or whatever. But as I move left and right, watch what happens to the camera. You'll see this indicator move over, and you'll see this yellow bar move over. I'm going to move it to the left, and then I'm going to let go. And the helicopter rotates around to match it. I haven't touched any controls. I don't need to adjust anything. Pardon, what was that? Oh, no. Okay. Can you see that? Can you see what's happening? So I can look round 360 degrees if I want. We've just got to bear in mind that if we are rotating all the way round, that we don't, right, rotate into something. So just bear that in mind. The other thing when you do auto hover is it.
That's very handy.
Yeah, it's really, really useful. So if we look down here, we've also got altitude hold. So normally you fly with those other 3 lights on. When you do auto hover, it also does altitude hold. So our altitude has been held at 6 meters. Now it might be that it's slowly going down, in which case you need to tweak it a bit. Yeah, see? This is why we're as low as we are. Now I want to look over the trees. So if we look over to the collective, just here you'll see like a bicycle brake. Now if I pull that, that's called a collective brake. And if I add some input to the collective, that means increasing the pitch on the blades to lift us up. You'll see now that the number starts to increase. If you go mad, it'll keep going up. If you do it nice and gently, and just before you let go of that brake, you relax and then let go of the button, it should hold its position, okay? And that's going to allow me to see over the trees. Now if we got something just the other side of the trees, we're going to have a problem. Okay, something on the right hand side that's scoping us. Might even be on the road just to our right, so be careful. Okay, I see it. It's a SAM site over there. Eyes on Pup. Oh, is it you? Oh, it makes a nice change. It wasn't a squirrel. Right, so it come from over there, so now I know there's something over there. Now, I can't see shit. Okay? I still can't. So I'm going to have to lift up my height and peep through this gap. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go here. And I'm going to pull that brake again. And when I'm using this screen, I'm keeping an eye on this, because if I start drifting up, and it's really easy to do because you're distracted by everything, right, then I don't want to keep going up to the point that everybody else can see me as well. Now as that went off, if you notice, one of the first things I did is I looked over to the right on the Abris, because the Abris here was telling me the direction of where I was under attack from. However, it can't determine whether I'm under attack or someone else is under attack. However, in this case it was Pup. You can see the visibility. This is not great, you know, but we just have to work with what we've got. So when we peep over the trees at some point, you'll probably find it's not going to be easy to see the stuff. But the nice thing about this is if you look where we are, we've got tree cover to the right, tree cover to the left. I've just noticed this is a railway line, and I'm not aware of any SAMs that come in on trains. So let's zoom up a little bit more, and we're utilising this tree line as cover. Now I'm looking over here, but I might actually be either too close or too far away, and it might have been behind that tree line. It's really oh wait, there's something. Is that something there? So I've just slowed myself back down a little, and I've also moved this around, right? I can go narrow view and wide view. That looks like that might just be trees there. So I'm going to adjust the, again, contrast and brightness just for what I'm looking at now. So I'll probably need that a bit darker, so I can sort of make out what's going on. And that is tree shape. That is one of the things you do notice with this, is some of the trees around the bases and the trunk sometimes look like vehicles or tanks hidden underneath the bases of the tree. Now we've got lampposts there, so that tells me there's a road as well, and so we've got to be careful because there might be stuff on the road. So while we're going up, I'm looking a little bit to the left. There might be things in there over that gap. And I'm turning to the right. Now, if I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, have I got auto on at the moment? Yep, okay, fair enough. I'm going to look to the right even more. And I'll bring this in a little bit closer so I can see. This is the road there, look. And you see what I mean about that little bit of shading? It does look a little bit like there's something there, but it's just tree. So Stinger shouted Magnum, which means he's firing harms from possibly the F-16. Now when you start moving around like this, if you've got much wind, and I mean in the game, what will happen is depending where the wind's blowing, it will blow your helicopter around. So if the wind is pointing in this direction or coming from there, from the north, right? As I turn past north and move this around like I am, and I move it a long way, the helicopter is going to turn around pretty quick and try and catch up with that direction, okay? The problem is with that is the wind will then kick in as well, and it will push the helicopter more than you want and possibly knock it out of its ability to hold its auto hover. All right, so just bear that in mind. Conversely, when you go the other way and you're turning into the wind, you'll feel a lot more resistance. Now, as I said, I can't tell from here whether there's anything over here or not, because we're pretty close to the trees. So let's go back, let's look forward. I know there's something over there. It might be in that town, which I can't see. Are you magnuming waypoint 4, Stinger?
Yeah, 4, 5.
Okay, thank you. Right, so I'm going back to where I started, more or less. And then what I'm going to do is increase my height again, and just be aware that there may be something off to my right, okay? So let's change the view so it's out a bit, and let's lift up again. Now if we can't get a view on anything here, we may have to change our position here and push over to the right to look around here and over there. Oh, something. I think that is Stingy's Magnum, but I'm not 100%. So if we have a little look. So that's Stingy's Magnum. Is that an airbase you're going for over there, Stingy, or is that not yours?
Oh no, I've got missiles up to me.
Ah, right, okay, so it's not yours. Let's have a little look, see if I can see anything else. So that's probably not Stingy then in that case. So where's Stingy? See, there's something off to the left. Can't see anything.
Oh, hit me straight in the face.
Did you say cheese? There it is, look, see? So we've definitely got Sam's over there, and I'm guessing the Sam's going to be a bit further over here. So what I'm going to do is reset my position.
Clouds, I couldn't see where it was coming from.
Hey! You're right, Wombat. I'm in the Shark 3 at the moment. Right, I've reset my schwa. I'm going to reset the auto hover, and I need to switch off this 4th light, the altitude hold. Of course, unless you want altitude hold, I don't. Now, if I leave the trimmer system as it is, right, I'm going to have to overcome. It's quite good fun. Okay, did you notice that then suddenly I got something off from the right? And sometimes there's helicopters that come over. So I've just dropped my height down. I've just switched to my cannon, and the way I'm using it at the moment is where it's centered or bore sighted on the helicopter. So if I fire, okay, you'll see it goes straight out. So if there is a helicopter, there's a chance I might be able to shoot it down before it does any damage to me. Now the trouble is with the helicopters they're using is that basically it will fire a missile at me. So I'm not going to go too high. It's going to be forced into coming towards me. And there's definitely something that was very close range that may be moving down the road. So I've got to be careful. Nowadays in DCS, the trees will give you some cover. Previously they didn't. That was because they were non-collisionable. So if you tried to hide behind some trees, you would find, before you knew where you were, a missile came through the trees, literally. In fact, the trees in the old days mostly floated in the air, and forests were basically... Does anyone know, is that close to us? And the forests were basically flat sheets of a top-down view of a tree, and it's only when they started introducing helicopters into the game seriously that they changed it. So I'm going to switch that off. If you notice, you get no readings, so I'm going to try and peep over here, and I'm looking for a helicopter just in case. I can also use the cannon.
Wind's near you.
Yeah, he's not pointing at me, I don't think, is he?
No.
There's something over here, Mav, unless you accidentally pointed at me.
No, I haven't pointed in your direction.
Yeah, no worries. This is the problem.
Downed helicopter near you.
Yeah, that's Pup. As I said to people at the beginning, if we look, we'll see it lying on the floor pointing in a direction. And then Pup took umbrage, and then there we are. He's lying down on the floor pointing in a different direction. What can I say? He had his own back last week, by the way. He was just laughing at me all the time. For those who are new to the channel, I have a very bad persistent cough, so I tend to try and mute myself and then cough. The issue is sometimes, oh, that feels like it might be a squirrel trying to grab my ass. Sometimes I forget to put myself back on, so if it looks like you think I should be talking, which is most of the time, and you can't see my cursor on the screen or anything, I've probably forgot to unmute myself, so I do apologise. Something down there, unless that's chimney smoke. Could be chimney smoke. No, it's a road. That's quite interesting because there might be something coming up the road. Now let's see if I can trim myself. Need to go right a little bit. Right, hit the button. Let's see what happens. The last thing I want to be doing is drifting. Yeah, of course. You can say what you want, and I do it often. You know, it's just one of the things. I'd rather, you know, talk for 5 minutes than cough down your ears, especially at the volume I'm at, especially in stereo. You know, if you like ASMR stuff, then that's fine, but otherwise, it's not great. Right, let's sort my camera out because there's a road there. Let's put auto hover on as well. Now, what I'm also going to do is select the outer pylons. I'm using the keyboard because I like saving keys, the more important things. Look, I've just spotted that. Did you see? Zoom in. That is Shilk, perhaps. Moving ground target. Why have I put moving ground target on? Because once I can point to it, if I can see it, right, my system will turn the helicopter automatically. Now I think it's behind these trees and it might just stop and shoot me. I've got to be really careful though, because we've got trees look around us, and if you remember what I said about rotating, so I know there's a road. If anyone's near me, there is a convoy of sorts on a road. Lost track at the moment. The other thing I'm going to do is switch on my laser. If you remember, okay, there was an L140 laser. I'm going to switch that on, and that's my rangefinder and my guidance. So once I've locked onto a target, that will lock on and my whole helicopter will turn, keeping the front of the helicopter, the laser, and therefore my weapon pointed at the target while it moves along. It's a really good system, and I'm not worried about the auto hover other than the fact I'm in the middle of a load of trees. Now I've lost it. I definitely saw it move, I just couldn't tell what range, but it is pretty close, and it might have been the vehicle that was pinging me before. So that's tree, isn't it? Look, yep. Now if I move too quick and the wind's blowing, can you see the way this is gonna drift? And I know I've got trees next to me, look, but I am keeping my head down and it's giving me a good amount of cover sitting in the trees. There we go, something over there, something behind those trees. So I'm going to look. Okay, I'm not moving too much at a time, I'm moving just a little bit. We'll see if we can get a target. Now when it goes behind the trees, right, I'm probably going to lose the track because the laser gets masked. That might be a road there. In fact, you know, while I'm doing this, he's probably going to come towards me and just shoot the shit out of me, for want of an expression, because we haven't got a great view. But the problem is I'm still keeping my head down because he's got missiles and he's got anti-air guns on him. Now I have got my gun, right, which I've just engaged, and another good thing is that if you watch as I rotate the gun target round, you see it going, and the helicopter goes with it, and we'll keep the gun on track all the time. The C that you just saw then means I can fire. Think of it as a consent to fire. There's the road, look. Now the cannon has a range of about 4 kilometres. Now if I was to fire here through this gap with a gun, by the time anything got to him, right, it would probably have gone past. I'm going to increase my height just a little bit. It's going to make me vulnerable just over there. But there's the road, and I'm hoping that he's coming from left to right up this road. Now I've just made an adjustment on my collective, so I need to make sure on here that I'm not actually continuing going up in an upward movement. There's another thing, look, makes it look like there's a vehicle over there, but it's just a leaf. Quite difficult, isn't it? Now in the Apache I'd be able to use the fire control radar and scan for this guy, and I wouldn't have to expose myself, okay? Whereas this is a little bit different. You can see now why I put in more fuel. I know it sounds like I'm just here yucking away, but you get the gist. Otherwise I'd just be here and then run out of fuel. Okay, there's not a lot going on there, so it's either going in a different route.
You're always exposing yourself now.
Hello, Dr. Shambles. That's because you're a doctor and you asked me to. What can I say? See, I'm going for the same bloody leaf again. There's definitely, it looks like a shilka on the road somewhere around here, or in the field, quite close. Pardon? Trying not to move this nose too much so I don't spin round. Is there something there or not? No. Shapes. I think it's in the road, but it's down behind. Hiding behind. You can drive the tanks. You can also use some of the SAMs as well, and a lot of the vehicles. And when you're in a vehicle, Humvees, tanks, you can laze for other people. You can also send smoke out. Have we got any smoke ability? Oh, great. Yeah, my F10 doesn't seem to be working.
I have done to go 370 degrees very beautiful buttons. Thanks to the capabilities.
I'm going to increase my height a bit, and I'll probably jump a mile if I get shot at. There's another. Was that the same road? I'm just seeing more of it.
Kev said, is Fog of War set on the server?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware. There you go. So I'm here looking down towards here.
Energy 999 said, I believe
Yeah,
that's
it
the
is.
same road.
Just I can see more of it. So I don't know whether they went up the road. Got to be careful because now I'm exposing myself on the left. Okay, there's a significant dip down there as you can just about make out. Can't see anything in between, but I may as well have a scan while I'm here. You can come in if you want, NG. There's quite a few targets and there's quite a few heavy duty things to get rid of, and there's a lot of different modules on the server, but you know, you're more than welcome to come in, fly with us. There's not many of us. It's probably 5, which is a bit of a record recently. But wonder if that's oh, it's a chimney. I thought there was going to be Pup's corpse smoking away. Okay, just check this field out, being as I can now see it. Also watch my altitude because I'm exposed. There's a road here. There's nothing to say that vehicle didn't go this way. Those are chimneys. The road's going that way as well. Is there anything there? Nope. Those are houses. Notice how I talk quieter when I'm by the enemy in case they hear me. I know, you can't help yourself. Do you do that energy when you're playing? You're getting close to the enemy, so you just talk quieter. Just naturally, you know what I mean? I'm not exactly sure where you are, Mav, compared to me.
Which server is this? I might be able to pop on once my wife wakes up and I don't have to worry about noise.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Well, I'm only going to stream till about 2 o'clock, so that's a couple of hours if you want to. I think it's called Mel's Beaver server. Password for everyone is Mel12345 lowercase. If you can use voice comms as well, or if you've got, dare I say, TeamSpeak, you know, you can join us in team chat if you want.
Energy 999. Thanks for hitting that follow.
Yeah, thanks for the follow.
Mel said,
Just remember, unlike so many other channels, there's no obligation to follow, donate, sub or anything. And I won't be begging you for anything either. But anything that is given is appreciated, even follows, whatever. This is a simultaneous broadcast as well. So if you look on the other channel for Mel DCS, that will only show DCS stuff. It should be on there. And you'll see what I see and the quality that I see as well. And Star Citizen, but that will be on the Star Citizen channel. So there's a couple of new channels I've started. I just need to do some work to get them set up. But live streaming on them at the moment.
Kev said, Mel's VAR server.
Yeah, that's this one. Right, I've lost all sight of the thing that was by me. Is that you, Pup, over there? Coming round the other way?
Yeah.
I think it was going left to right on the road, But be mindful of the helicopters as well, because there'll be some Mi-28s or something maybe. It's not all helicopters. If anyone wants to fly planes and do some seed, that's good. I'm not sure whether we need close air support at the moment. Not sure how he's got the mission set up, whether it's going to, you know, automatically bring planes in once we get to a certain point, or what, I don't know. Right, so what I'm going to do is reset this now, because I am going to have to move. I'm not seeing anything there at all. I don't think there's anything on for SC. It's been so long since I streamed Star Citizen, because I was waiting for him to get sorted out. The annoying thing is I do what I do here for Star Citizen, and
Wombat 777 said, Mel, what is your SC stream?
it's called something like SC Mel IG.
SC410 is going to be big.
It is, but I was hoping. Yeah, copy that. Guns or missile? Yeah, it's probably the convoy I saw ages ago, but lost. Now, where's the road? Is it sort of towards the northish? So, okay, so they're coming through that town, possibly. So let's see if I can get a different position. If Kev can find my Star Citizen one, matey, can you just bung a link in for us? It's actually, I only set it up the other day before I went away, and as I said, it's a bit of a new name, but you'll tell it's me by the picture, and it's something like SC Mel IG, Star Citizen Mel Independent Guide. That's what it is. And there's just a live stream on there at the moment from last week when I was testing. Right, so I've got to be careful. We know there's a convoy. I've got to watch the trees. And we've got to try and get a path on the road if we can. There's a road behind me. Look, can you see it? Just to his left. Was it the road close to you, pup? On your left-hand side?
Yes, I see where I am.
Yeah, I can see the little like town, and then there's a little road running from the town down to the next one.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do...
On that road.
yeah, I thought there might be. Slow it down again. Which way?
The other way.
You mean back the way they came, or left or right? Okay. Right, so what I want to do now is use this road, right, just dive in a little bit. Can you see these roads here? So this is where I want to go. Let's go into... Who's buzzing me? Map? Nav. I know what I'm after. Come on. Plan. Edit. Draw. So I'm going to draw. Oh no, I'm not. I'm going to actually... I'm going to insert. And then I'm going to move this. From where I am now. Am I moving from where I am now? 1, 2. No, I'm not. What an idiot. I've put it on the wrong point, but that's okay. Right, okay. So let's move this down here. I don't know what it's going to come up with. Yeah. So you can see where the road is there. And I suspect we go somewhere there. Add. Right. And what waypoint is it? 0000. I've inserted it in the wrong place. Bugger. Look, that'll do for me now. It's 8. Okay, that'll do. Activate. Should have a waypoint 8 to go to.
Right.
That one, yeah. Okay, and that will take me up to that road. Let me just go and check that post, because if it's the thing I'm waiting for, let me pause that. I'll show you one of the others while we're waiting. Oh. Stingy, what happened there?
Well, we're fighting the next few. I think I got shot by a Sam or something.
Ah, right, okay. I was going to say, I just switched to you so people could see something while I went and checked my post, and all there was a dead plane swirling.
Oh, well, you're a little bit too slow. I got my shot off and killed it. He kills me.
Right,
Yeah, SA3 got me.
Ah. Yeah, no worries. I'll see what I can do. You on the channel, Spatey?
Well, not really hard. Can't seem to get the arms to fire again.
Hang on 1 minute. That's in the 16, isn't it?
Yeah, I power them on, same as I normally do, but just don't seem to be doing anything.
I can't help you with that one. 18 I might stand a chance, but not the 16. Right, so I've come out of the auto hover again now. Each time you do a reset, it resets the Schval, the auto turn, etc, etc. So now I'm going to head over there, and I can see from here it's only 2 kilometres away, that is. So if I can see from over here, right, I may be able to have a pop at them from back here. So I'm just sitting here because I want to see if I'm going to get targeted first. If I do, my radar will light up, and I've got an escape route. Oh, got an escape route off to the right. I wonder if that road's connected to the road they're on. It's telling me the trees are there. You can see the needle look is slightly. I think it's called try. No, it's not MLSC. Do you know what? I only set it up last week. Try sc.mail.ig, and what I've set up, right, and this is the bad thing, I've set it up as Star Citizen Mail Independent Guide, okay, which is great, but when you come to set other bits up, you can't have that. So I went around so many different names trying to find something I could actually have. I created Mail Star Citizen Independent Guide, so now it looks like Mel's CIG, and I'm thinking, oh, for God's sake. So you know what's going to happen? I'm going to be told to change it because it's passing off, so I've got to be very careful how it's presented. Do you know what I mean? So it could be at Mel's CIG, MELLS CIG, which is Star Citizen Independent Guide. Obviously it wasn't thought through, but by the time I've created so many different accounts to get it to work, it's a bit of a pain in the ass, to be honest. Okay, so I'm already that slow, so this didn't take long. Let's go and have a look over there. Let's put the auto turn, and I'm going to switch the laser off for the time being. The laser, right, will allow you to go out on possibly 2 sorties, and then you're going to find a problem, because what will happen is the laser will burn out. If you leave your laser on all the time, it'll burn out even quicker, so you do have to be careful. Sorry I haven't shot anything yet, but if you just go like a bull at a gate, unfortunately, you end up dead rather quickly. So I'm just going to scan this area where Pup was. I think the road. Let's have a look. It's not that far away. It could be masked by these trees. There's a bit of a clearing there which we can see. Oops. That was my tracking. Is that the road there? Nope. So I'm going to look around here a little bit and I'm going to slowly start increasing my height. As you can see, I'm starting to drift down a little bit, but I've stopped that now. I'm holding the collective brake and you don't have to move it much. So we can see the road system, so there's a good chance they're on a loop around that road system. If we zoom out just a smidge, you'll see where Pup was. Okay. So it's the right sort of line. We'll just pick up. Just seeing if we can see the roads. Could be behind the trees. You can see why some of these maps are quite challenging, because there's a bucket load of trees. So I reckon they'll be going on a route. If you've never tried creating a mission before, it's definitely worth having a play with a mission editor. It's fairly straightforward to do basic stuff, do your own training missions, set stuff up, and you can even set it so the aircraft will evade, or the helicopters if you're flying helicopters. They'll sort of respond by trying to evade, but you can set it so they won't attack you. And it's great for when you're trying to learn how to shoot and get position, etc, etc. It's not the same as people, so you know, don't think you can go and shoot AI and then just jump into a PvP server and get a good handle on it. Can't see the road at all. Got to be something down there, but as we can see, it's all trees, isn't it? Also, I need to check my fuel. We haven't got too much left. We do have some. But I think from what Pup was saying, they were coming along this road over here. In a minute, I'm going to sort of suddenly get beeped at and they're going to be right there in front of me, if you see what I mean. So this could be that road. Let's make an adjustment on this. See if I can see anything. Is that a tree? No. I mean, yes, it's a tree, it's not a vehicle. But that looks like the road is there somewhere. Yep, there we go. Oh, there's another door, sorry. Be back in a minute, this will be deep in the last one. Right, I don't know whether I'm due any more, but where is it? Yeah, but where is he? Can you put a mark on the map, Mav? Or are you at the other place, or are you back at spawn? Where was I? Sorry about that.
just to the left.
Right, so whatever it is behind me.
Oh, it can be in front.
Okie dokie. And now... Oh! I think it was a bit more than in front of me, matey. Okay, so there we go. After all that time and effort, and it was an MI-24. There you go. Right, okay. Anyway, generally, that was the general gist of the Shark. The weapon system is quite good as well. As I said, you can get about 7.1 clicks normally. And
Mr. 72 said,
Cookie!
yourself up now.
Man, we was talking about you the other day. What's dug you up at your hole and brought you out? Are you well? That's the main thing. Or I hope you're well. Yeah, we were talking about you because Lisa was, as she always does. I wonder how Cookie is. I wonder if he's going to play Star Citizen. I says he hasn't got a PC. The kids are at home. He's got nowhere to put it. You know, usual story.
Very well, thanks.
You are good.
How are you?
All right. I work away from home at the moment, and come the new year, I've managed to talk them into 2 days, 3 days at work, and then coming home every day. So I'll get more time because for the last 6 months, during week, I'm away, and it cost me 800 quid to go to work. Do you know what I mean? And it left me nothing. So I sort of convinced them that I could do it from home. It'll just knacker my car because I don't get company car, I don't get car allowance. Not anymore anyway. But hey, yeah, all good other than that. And I've moved on. If you look, I'm streaming on 2 different platforms at the moment. And if you have a proper look, and I can't say too much on here, I'm allowed to do it, but I can't do it different to what I do on here, but they don't do what I'm doing on there.
Is it still the same place you are working for?
Same company, but they closed us down. The place that was local, 16 minutes away. So I've been working in Doncaster. So I'm the IT manager up at Donny.
Yeah.
So basically, that's where we are.
Cool.
Yeah, so, pays the bills, and now it pays for toys as well, fortunately, which is good. So, are you good? Are you back on PCs yet or not? Sorry, guys, this is a guy from a long time ago that we know quite well. I bet it was fun and games for you the other week when what happened. I bet everyone was like, what?
Wow. Look what the cat's dragged.
Cookie Monster 72 said, SC4 has piqued my interest. I need to build another PC and get back into it.
I'm going to do a stream tonight, and it's going to be a bit of a ranty one, really, because if you remember, it is all about the best damn space simulator ever, right, which is how it was pushed, and my view and point is the best damned graphical arcade looking game ever, and I'll show you why, a variety of reasons, and the logic in what they've done with some of it is unbelievable. And I think that if you jump in at the moment, apart from the fact you're going to wonder what the hell's going
I
on.
watched some of your stream.
Ah, right. Do you like the quality? I was doing test streams, but it's like quality is unbelievable, and this is on there as well under my other channel. Right, I'm sorry about that. So we're in the Apache now, so we're going to use the Apache.
Same old bugs.
Oh, some of them, but there's a lot of stuff moved on, and there's a lot that isn't in 4 that should be. But the fact they've got server meshing working is good, but they take in like 10 servers to make it work for 500 people is obviously unsustainable. But the methodology and the technique works, and when I was playing last night, I was running around at anything from 40 odd to 60 frames doing most of the things. But what they've done to the iron, what they've done to fighting, what they've done to appease this, that and the other, and the blotters in the fighters and stuff is unbelievable. So your skill ceiling's gone down, and my ship
Impressed by your
was
Apache landing skills on last week's Docks stream. DCS.
yes, thank you. I know where you're going with that, and I'm not going to follow it on. Anyway, this is the Apache. We'll soon prove him wrong. It's because I can't get the timing, and that's one of the things I miss, is that I can't fly during the week as such. And I come home, fly Saturday, get a bit of a fly Sunday if I'm lucky, and that's it. Right, on the left-hand side, we're going to put the battery on. We're going to pop the APU up, and then we're going to turn around and shut the cabin door. If you notice now, the handle actually goes the right way round and it shuts, rather than it shuts and then tries to lock the door with the handle down. We're going to turn this little light here. It says primary something or other, primary lights. Once we turn that up, when we come to... Sorry, what was that? Oh. Once we come to aligning the IHADs, which is this system you can see here, right, there'll be a little light that we use as a point of reference to align it, so that where we look with our head is aligned with the weapons, etc. It also won't let you fire the missiles unless it's aligned. Right, so the APU's come on, or auxiliary power unit, which is now powering up the plane. So what we need to do is start the left engine. So over on the left hand side, we're just going to push this forward for a second or two and keep an eye there. And when it gets to around about 20, 24-ish, we're going to press the control forward into idle mode and the engine will start. And if that's a bug about power, fuel flow, sometimes it comes on, sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to press the button and tell it to shut up anyway. So if we watch here, we can see it starting up, we can see the rotor turning round, and we're looking for the oil pressure to drop below 70, and then we can start up the right hand engine. If you've got any questions, please ask. It is definitely not the helicopter I know most about, but I am learning in the little bits of time that I get, but hopefully that'll improve. I will be creating some training videos from scratch. They'll be long, but it'll take you from a point where you can get into something, start it up, take off, fly, use a weapon, shoot something, come back and land, and also audio tracks, so that instead of listening to all the, you know, the ad hoc talk and descriptions and that, it'll just walk you through the startup. And then once you listen to it a few times, you'll be in a position to write it down yourself. What I've learned over the years is, if you use somebody else's startup procedure and somebody else's like profile for your stick, it's a lot harder to learn. If you learn the bits as you need them as you go along, and just observe and listen and do, you'll find it a lot easier. When you write it down, it's another way of reinforcing things in your head, and your learning curve goes up a little bit, rather than just trying to read a list of instructions all the time. You shouldn't be reading a list until you've done it a few times and then you write your own, if that makes sense. Or that's the philosophy I'll be pushing anyway. Accelerated learning, by the way, if anyone's interested. Okay, right, so first engine's up, it's down below 60. Let's start the second one. We're just going to move this over, push it forward again, a couple of seconds, keep an eye over here. We can see it increasing. I forget what NG stands for, probably some engine-y thing, I'm guessing. You can see I don't know this as well as I know some things. Okay, so again, going to press this lever into idle. Second engine starting up now. Unlike the Apache, you've got anti-torque rotor and you've got your main big rotor. This is dual pilot. This can be AI or it can be a player, and believe me, it is so good with a player. AI is just, you know, But if you fly it with a gunner, you have so much fun. When I first started to fly this, me and Stingy would be off, and half the time we never reached the target before we was dead. It was hilarious. The Apache has its own idiosyncrasies that you must get used to, and you will be dropping out the sky nearly, well, more than the Huey. And when you get used to it, you can get a level of control. Okay, so second engine's there. These are all synced up, so now I'm just going to push both levers forward together. And then get up to full power. Everything should all sync up nicely. See all the numbers, you can hear the engine starting up. Oh, it shouldn't be taking off though. And that's because I got shot down and left my collective up. And it's a good job I noticed that, because Cookie would have been there rolling on the floor again. And you can shut up. That's all you ever hear when I do make a mistake, is the chuckling in the background, you know what I mean? See this power.
Watching.
Yeah, I know. They're all there. It used to be an old adage that, you know, I used to get back, yeah, we're subs, we can say what we like. So basically it was an insult. That's how it worked. Right, let's go over here. If we go to fuel, I'm not sure why this is bitching, because it's already where it needs to be as far as I'm concerned. So it's on auto, and we still get a message, but we'll get there, see what happens. Okay, so it's aligned already. I'm going to turn this down a little bit because it's far too bright, and now we can see things. Okay, so we're going to select the show, and we're going to select the CPG cursor so I can see where my co-pilot gunner's looking. We're going to select threat show, so if he logs any targets we can see those, and we can see stuff that's picked up by the radar, which is always good to have. We're going to waypoint waypoint 4, isn't it? So we can select the list of waypoints which are pre-built in, select DIR and go to waypoint 4. Okay, so it's now going to pick a path straight to 4. If we go down to weapons and go bore sight and IHADS, okay, I need to switch the IHADS on, and then I need to align the IHADS. Now I have to be careful because I'll move my system around, right, where my camera is, so I sort of try and center it so that my view looking forward is the bottom of these buttons. And now I'm going to position it so when I look in there, the rings are in the center, and so is the IHADS, which is not as easy as you think. Now if you notice that was a little bit off, that's absolutely fine, because if I'm using my head to target with a gun or the cannon and it's sort of landing here and my head's there, that's fine, I can work with that. So I'm not trying to be super duper accurate, it really doesn't matter that much. I'm going to put all the radios on. I'll keep switching the IHADS off because it basically gets in the way sometimes of things that I'm showing. Okay, something else which is quite important, there's a little volume knob there called RLWR, okay, and in a minute I'm going to switch that on. So we're going to go up and we're going to switch TSD, M, menu, ASC, util, and then RLWR, and you'll hear some Betty talking about where she's spotting targets. There you go. Okay. We're going to uncage the standby attitude indicator, and we're also going to switch the countermeasure system, do a little test. We could put a little circle of where we are, but I think the waypoints are always set. And remember, we haven't got any sort of weapons on at the moment, so we're going to have to get some. We switched the APU off by an MI28. Right, fair enough. We're going to select comms.
Okay, I'm going to jump off.
Alright, Mav, nice to see you again as always.
See you later.
And then we're going to select man. And then we're going to select this frequency here. And then we're going to use this little computer pad here to change the frequency to 124. It's 124.123, I think. And now you'll see that our main comms channel is 124. Right, if we look in the hood, we can see a couple of things. If we look around, let's have a look. We should see a base plate for where our target is, which I can't see at the moment. It's possibly behind me, or we're a little bit too low. But there's a diamond here, and that is forward facing. We can also see a lubber line that basically points forward, and one of these is the co-pilot gunner's where he's looking, and the other one's myself. Okay, so what we're going to do is change this, and we do that. You can see now where I switch this off. If we go down here, let's try and get rid of this fuel failure, which I don't know why it's happening, but it does happen sometimes. What we're going to do is go down to weapons and acquisition. Ah, have you noticed how the fuel on here is different to the fuel on there? It shouldn't be, surely. Let me see if I can fix it on here. That's a bit interesting. It's like they desynced. So if we go to acquisition, think of the acquisition as your targeting, where your target's focused on. You've got the gunner's helmet sight, the seeker of the Hellfire, fixed forward facing, TAD, waypoint or target. Okay, so usually we'll set it on the gunner's helmet sight. We can go onto vid and change this screen to TADs and select this button here, so I can see more or less what he's looking at. Okay, this one will leave over at
What's she canopy, Charlie?
What happened, Charlie? Someone's stolen it? Was it the squirrels on the runway, was it? Were they like unscrewing it just before you took off? Okay, right, so now you can see that cross has gone, and if I was to fire up the switch on the AI, when I looked over here and said go and look over there, he would slave to my view, and then you'd see this cross move to where I'm looking. Now sometimes when you go to take off in this, let me put the axis on for you, it does do a couple of weird things, but generally you need to push left a little bit and push left a little bit as well as you start to go up, and you'll see that in a minute. And I've got to go and load with this as well. There's the, see that looks like a baseball home plate. That's where the waypoint is that we're going to. This is somewhat different to the other helicopters because we actually control the rudder, or trim the rudder should I say, as well as the other systems. When I say it's very similar to the Shark, it is up to a point. Okay, you press and disengage the trimmer system, you let go, and then you go through the same process, and then it will basically hold the trim, but the values that it holds at are much less than what you'd see for the Shark. So it is around about 4% for some axis, 6 maybe for another. So it doesn't give you the stability. However, if you're careful with it, you can actually get this to go into auto hover quite quickly. Right, are you somebody just gone over in a helicopter to rearm refuel? I think it's that one over there.
That's me.
I thought it was in a queue. Are you taking some weapons out, are you? So,
I'm gonna save some pilots.
oh right, okay, yeah, that makes a change. We usually just leave them there to rot, don't we? Okay, so it's over there. So again, on the Shark, we got a little line telling us which way we're going, and we have on this too. Now, the slower you go, right, if you're going slow, you're going to have to give it some left cyclic and left rudder, okay? So just bear that in mind. As you slow down, if you're moving along and you slow down, you'll have to apply it. As you start moving a little bit quicker, you can take that off again. In a minute, once we've got some weapons, I'll show you what I was on about earlier, about trying to get this into a hover relatively quickly. One of the biggest problems you need to be aware of is you need to manage your torque. It'll be fine. And it's not luck. It's just pure cheek. So it'll be fine. So what you have to be aware of is your weight. One of the things that helicopters do, and they do it in certain ways, is if you're making too much demand on the engine and it can't give you what you're requesting, it will lower the RPM. When it lowers the RPM, what will happen is you'll end up basically, right, losing your look, that's not me. I land and it just slowly tips over. You didn't tell me that this floor was quite slow, people. Do you see the way it just decides to roll over? It wasn't me. Anyway, I suppose I better get another one, but you'll be pleased to know I won't be explaining everything as I go, so it'll be started up much quicker, okay? But you get the general gist of the startup. You can see that I don't fly every day, Cookie, or a couple of times a week. But this is quite a nice chopper, to be honest, matey, and you will love it with two people in it. Especially if you're the pilot and you're just learning, because it's hilarious, because as you can see...
Excuses.
I don't need excuses. It's... Sometimes I'm just shit and sometimes I'm not. And sometimes I can fly it and you think I'm brilliant and other times I can't. It's inconsistency, not excuses.
The Apache does interest me.
It's very good. It is very good. I would also... Doing the FCR by yourself as a pilot, which you can do. Chinook is, well, we flew it when it come out, but Jesus wept. I'm not sure how wallowy it is meant to be, but it basically, you give it some input and it reacts a few seconds later, and your stick always seems to be going the opposite way to the way you're going, and it just seems like it's too wallowy to me. You can give it some small inputs, but I know it's a heavy thing, but I'm not sure where it would sit.
999 said, if you want to save a little time, you can start and spin up both engines simultaneously.
You can. I'm not bothered about the time, to be honest. I mean, I don't mind going through the process as is. Because to some extent, I feel that if I'm just going to save myself time doing something, then I may as well auto start and just go make a drink and so on and so on.
Hey mate, just
Yeah.
found the channel. I really want to get a HOTIS set up, but I can't justify the cost for a bit of fun. Can you offer any experience on around the £100 mark on a decent stick that I would enjoy to start out with?
Yeah, you're going about it the right sort of way. I wouldn't even say as much as £100. I take it you're from the UK, by the fact you said £100. You can spend less than that, and the word decent, it can mean a multitude of things. What I would say is any joystick that has got initially, right, that has got a rotation in and a hat on the top and a few buttons is going to be good enough to do what you want, but you're going to have limitations. One of the things you should be aware of with this is if we go into the controls, you can understand why I say you got limitations. Now, there's a lot of controls, okay? And you're going to look and you're going to say, hang on a minute, I can't do that with one stick. And I'm going to say, well, actually, you can. One of the things you've got to bear in mind, look how many controls.
My worry is reading about stick drift in the field.
Yeah, I understand that as well. And there are elements of that you're going to get with some sticks. But my first stick was around about 40 odd 50 quid. And it was one of these like cybery looking sort of, you know, look at me for a stick type things with a hat and a couple of buttons, and that's about it. And unfortunately, ever since I started playing, right, the cost of joysticks, even the ones that years ago, have held the price. It's unbelievable, right? And it makes it really difficult when you want to get in and have a fly and get a feel of it, because you don't know whether you're going to enjoy it, whether it's for you or whether it's something that's going to last you 2 or 3 months. So you never want to spend much more money than 50 to 80 quid max. Now what I'm about to show you is look at my controls that I've got set up.
Thrustmaster TCA is about 75
Right. So there's one control, and as I scroll down, these are my controls there, and I don't use the mouse that much. Yeah. The thing is, if they're really, really light, right, and they're like very plasticky and light, which some are, right, as soon as you try to put pressure on, they're going to move. So at the least, you want something with suckers on, and you want a desk where they're going to stick. And when you first start learning, you're going to push them off the stickers, believe me, because you'll overdo it and you get frustrated. But can you see how little controls I've actually got programmed in? This is just a hat and a hat there, right? Now, one of the things is, if you've got a single hat, you've got something called modifiers. So with these modifiers, which you can see left alt, left control, left shift, left windows, right alt, right control, right windows, that means that with your left hand, assuming you don't start with a throttle, and at the price you're looking at you probably won't, right, you can use your left hand to add one of these modifiers to the controls and make that one hat do 9 different things, okay? So that way round, you're more writing something that gives you a list of what control you need to push with a hat. You'll need twist grip as well, especially if you want to go in helicopters, okay? And ideally, that's all you need to start with. Now, if you want to fly helicopters,
Understood.
right, the biggest thing I can say to you is put the stick in the right place and you'll find it easy. If you've got a joystick and you put your joystick to the right of your keyboard, right, and if you add a throttle to the left, your arms are angled out. If you're then sitting at a desk where the height of the desk isn't quite right, you'll have your arms angled out and either reaching up or reaching down. So that means when you rotate your stick to the full left, you're going to find it's going to hurt your wrist and you're naturally going to pull on it. So instead of giving it a rudder axis, you're giving it a rudder axis and a bit of something else, which is going to cause you problems. So if you literally sit in front of your desk, you hold your arms, you might look stupid, bend your arms at the elbow, put them straight out in front, and where your hand is needs to be the height of your stick on the desk in that position. And that might mean moving the keyboard more left and just using your left hand on the keyboard, and you put your stick so it's directly in front of your arm and the height is so your arm's level where your hand meets it. That way you can put full left turn, full right turn without causing your wrist a problem, and you've got to get the height right so that you're not pulling the stick around, okay? If that makes sense. It makes a big difference. I could go into the other room now on my other halves, use her stick which sits on the desk and it's a TC 16000, and fly helicopters just as well. Exactly. And that's where people go wrong. They'll have a stick, it's off to the right, and just bend your arm out to the right at the elbow, right, and then rotate your wrist to the left and feel what happens to your wrist. And so what are you going to do? You're going to adjust your wrist or your arm and pull just to get rid of that pressure or pain that you've got. So yeah, as Cookie says, I don't know the stick. I've been using the same stick I've got now for years. In fact, when I bought it, it was half the price that it is now. I went from a stick like we're describing to a Cytec X52. So, Cytec was bought out by Logitech, and now they've got the X52 Pro, which you can still buy. It's a single throttle and a stick with a lot of buttons, but there's plenty on there. However, the price range is sort of mid-hundreds.
It's the Airbus version of the T16000.
Oh right, I know which one you mean. So is it basically got a hat and a few buttons on it and maybe a slider on the bottom? The other thing I'll say, oh right, okay, yeah, that'll do the job. Can I just point out one thing though? I'll call you Ian. If you get a stick and you are going to fly Star Citizen, I guarantee you will knacker your stick, because there's that much turning of the stick, right, that you will just wear it and cause it to drift. And that's one of the problems, right? You don't need pedals, you need a twist grip when you first start, but eventually you start to learn the limitations of what you buy, and if you decide you want to move on and get better and spend time in things like DCS or Star Citizen or War Thunder, you'll start to find that you'll hit a limitation with what you've got, and then you'll be looking at another spend, but by then you'll consider that worth it. Okay, are you aware of the free offer in DCS?
D_D_Win said it'd mostly be plain armour or DCS flight sim.
Well, that's where we came from. This organisation that I fly with was armour. That's where I met Cookie and most of the guys playing armour. And I don't think we bought sticks for armour because the flight model was fairly basic.
No, not.
Right, okay, so don't download DCS from Steam. Download it from DCS. Okay?
Nice.
Somebody will put a link up for you that takes you more or less to the right place. The reason being is with DCS, you can download any module and use it free for 2 weeks and it'll just work. After 2 weeks, it'll stop working. Okay? After that, you can download another module and so on. You can download all the modules, you can download all the maps and all the everything. Okay? When you've gone through everything, right, it will take you 6 months if you try everything out. Okay? Never download more than one thing, because that time is it will function in the same way. If you download 2 modules, you've got 2 weeks now for both of them. Only ever download one. Once you've gone to 6 months, you're welcome. Once you've gone through 6 months, guess what? You can do it all again. So you won't even have gone through everything, and then you can use the one that you started with again for another 6 months. So you'll get a year of flying for absolutely free. That's going to tell you, A, whether you've got an interest, B, what sort of thing you want to actually do, because there's a lot of different things you can do, and C, whether your computer is more than capable of running it in a way that satisfies you. And if it isn't, and you like the planes, please don't come back and blame me when you're sort of chin deep into about a £2,000 spend after a number of years and people turn into collectors. Ask Cookie. You end up buying everything and fly some of it. Do you know what I mean? It's what everybody does, because it starts to suck you in, and then you suddenly want a better joystick, and then you start spending 500 quid on a set of pedals, 500 quid on a joystick and a throttle. Obviously you need head tracking at some point, because you'll find the limitations of that, and then your computer's not big enough, and then you're going to be coming to me and blaming me. It's not my fault. You just got to accept that you become an addict, that's all. Okay? And if you need any help, just ask. Oh, then we are you. Exactly. Exactly.
DR Shambles said, it's all your fault now.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. I used to do racing as well.
Underscore Flynn said, sound advice mate would also give me time to think about spending
Yeah.
more on a setup.
Exactly.
I'm more into racing, so most of my time is in that.
That's fair enough, and I understand that. But
We are all ready for racing. Best investment.
this is VR out the box. And if your machine's quite pokey and runs VR now, it should be reasonable at running this as well. And that gives you a whole different dynamic. If you've ever gone over a humpback bridge, you're from the UK, so I guess you have, right? That feeling when your stomach goes up and down, which I always thought was ears, right? You will get just taking off in a Huey. And you get that sensation. And I always thought it was your ears causing it. It obviously isn't. But your perspective and the way you view stuff, and you'll find that you'll find it difficult not to do VR. The fact that you've got it is, I would recommend starting with it. Right? So if you start with it, your learning curve is going to be better. Because if you start flat and then go VR, oh yeah, yeah, it will, but you will spot, because you'll start to get hot and sweaty first, but eventually you'll switch your head. If you use your head, you can actually switch that off in your head, and playing something like Echo Arena in the old days was great like that.
I hired a $3 for a month to try it out, but I found that just having the seatbelt tensioners were a better immersion investment than the $3.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Anyway, so you get the gist. You've got axis commands which you can change. You've got a switch that you can change. So what a switch does in terms of modifiers is you can press a button or something else, and all your switches and buttons can be used for different features. So that's what I use this Joy button 15. So I've defined it as a switch. So when I press that and let go, everything is different. That's fine. I run this channel to teach people. So I walk through what I do to help people. Some people will pick something up, and I teach people. That's what I do. And I try and make it accessible for people who are watching, who think, oh, I could do that, start off and then get disillusioned because it's a lot more difficult than it looked. So, you know, you want me to give you some lessons, I'm more than happy if it's something I know. And unfortunately, the something I know is getting smaller all the time, because I end up flying 4, 5, 6 modules out of the menu that I've got, and then I forget the ones I don't use. And then I still can't fly some of the ones I do. Alright, so that's what this channel's about. I'll be doing videos on YouTube over the next few months. I'm a bit behind on that, up-to-date ones, and giving all the help I can from a perspective of learning from scratch. But anyway, sorry, I digressed. So we've got this second engine, and we're now going to press the second engine forward, and we're also going to watch the speed here. And then when it gets to about 20 to 24, we're going to move the right hand lever. Let me move back a little bit there into the forward.
In real life?
No. I've touched a helicopter once and I had a go, and I did what anybody would do, and the guy explained, and I took what he taught me in a real helicopter. It didn't cost me any money. It was a customer, and he was an instructor, and he took me up once. He showed me how to deal with a cyclic, and from that day, that's how I deal with a cyclic. So when you're flying helicopters, you're not like pushing this thing forward, backward, left and right. You're doing this. Now you can barely see my stick move, and I assure you it's moving, and it's moving enough to make the helicopter work. And it's just technique. And when you learn it, you sort of realise, and it's tiny little inputs all the time. You're making an adjustment to move something off balance effectively. So that there is moving my stick enough, right? And I'm moving it forward and middle and relaxing, and that will move. As daft as that seems. If I teach it, I'll sort of do it in an exaggerated way so you can learn. Okay, so
working at a helicopter company doing airworthiness, I swear after seeing what a chopper is actually built up, it's terrifyingly scarly thyming about floating up there in that.
Tell me about it. I said earlier on, I taught a commercial pilot. He wanted to learn how to fly helicopters, and you always want to start with a Huey. And he said when they taught how to fly planes, they call them swirly whirly death machines from a commercial pilot's point of view. And they're right. You'll get killed by your own inability multiple times in a helicopter, multiple times. But that's how you learn. And if you learn in the Huey, you'll be back up in there within about 3 minutes or less. So, because you can get back in, you keep trying again and again and again.
They are inherently designed to kill you.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to push this up. I mean, look at the people that have died in helicopters. Go on Google and look up real life VRS, and you'll see videos of helicopters going into VRS, which is vortex ring state, and just dropping out the sky and killing everybody inside, and people who are unlucky enough to be on the floor. It's just, you know.
Ian_D_ said, absolutely. I saw many Robinson R22, R44 years bugger all to them. Engine strapped to a gearbox, a bit of space frame tubing and some thin panels. That's it.
Yeah. One of my customers one of my customers when I used to work for the company I worked for was a military base down on the south coast, and they serviced Chinooks, and they sold off the base, and then basically everybody who worked there just didn't wear uniforms anymore, and that was it. All the same people, privately owned by some aerospace company, except they didn't have uniforms. Everything was the same. And I was working down there on something, and then you hear this noise, and you look out the window when you're on the second floor, and there's this Chinook hovering just outside the window and back a bit, and everything was just rattling and vibrating on the desks. And that was something, I tell you. And now they've got a Chinook in game as well. The controls are not quite there yet, but it's pretty good. But the control system I don't think is quite right just yet. Anyway, guys, sorry about taking so long, but hopefully somebody else learned something or found something out from the conversation that I've had from Ian. Where are you based, Ian? Sort of, not like your street address, just what area are you based? Right, so I'm going to go in now and let's have a look. We're going to change the videos again, turn them down a little bit. You do realise this is a longer flight time than I've had before. Oh right, you're down there anyway, okay. So are you a Cockney? Although not strictly a Cockney necessarily, but a Cockney. I'm not a Brummie before you mention it. Cookie's a southerner, southern wussy. So a lot of us on here come from all over. Some from Sweden. Who else have we got on? Threats and tickets. Oh yeah, I said I wasn't going to go through it all, didn't I? Sorry, I do apologise. This is getting just me getting it all dragged out a little bit. When you actually don't have to talk all your way through, it's not a particularly slow helicopter to start up, to be honest.
Born in a concrete jungle, London, but moved down here because it's tuned into a concrete water zone.
Yeah, I can understand that. My other half's from down... I forgot where it is. She's down southwest London. And it wasn't a nice place. And now she lives up here, and we live in an okay place, but you can go for a walk or a run and no one will ever bother you. In fact, it's that bad round here that the first time I went on a walk, and I walk fast, right, some little old lady pulled up in the car and asked me if I was alright and did I want taking somewhere, because I seemed to be in a hurry. And that was a week after we moved here, do you know what I mean? And it's just a different ball game. Right, okay. Either that or I just looked like I was about to die, so she was concerned.
Win said, yeah, pal.
Yeah.
It's not the same as it was growing up there in the 80s.
Yeah, no, I can believe it. And, you know, we sit here and we just hear the owls all the time. But that's the sort of people around here. You know, you can have a parcel on your doorstep. You can be on holiday and you come back and it'll still be there. Or a neighbour will take it, to be honest. That's what will happen if they see it and it's still there. They'll come out and they'll take it in for you, and then they'll wait for you to come home, and then they'll come round and tell you about it, which is really good. Okay, so I'm doing all the same stuff as I was doing before, basically. If you go back and look at the stream, you'll be able to see. I need to do my head tracking. If you look here and I go into iHads now, right, that light's not on. So if you get to,
the kind of environment I want to live and meet.
yeah, exactly. If you look up here, and the car insurance is a lot less as well. Right, so that's what it is, as I said before. So you line this. Oh, come on, get your head there. That's close enough for me. Switch this on, do a built-in test, and let's see if we can actually fly over to the to where the oh, come on, what is it? To where the weapons are. Let's switch off the APU, because otherwise it's going to start squealing at me. I'll put the axis on. So this is displaying the rudder, the cyclic, and the collective. Okay. Excuse me. If you look, you can see, I didn't hear any of that then. The asterisk there, that's where it's trimmed. So both the rudder and the cyclic are trimmed. Right, let's see if we can get over there again, shall we? So you have to keep, as I said earlier, your eye on your torque. There'll be a point you'll go up in the air, where you'll start to hover even, drop my H, going all southern then. Yeah, my other half, her accent is a cross between Cockney and West Midlands, but when she's telling me off, it's not far away from slipping into get out of my pab, do you know what I mean?
8.3, man.
Pardon, what was that, sorry?
Some guns and a convoy at waypoint 3.
Waypoint, yeah, waypoint 3 is a easy target. No SAMs and no CBUs allowed, apparently. Yeah, that's when she's telling me off. That's she slips back into it. Do you know what I mean? It's like being in the Queen Vic. Right, I'm going to trim this time, and let's see what happens. So I'm trimming. Let go of the trimmer. Relax and take my feet off and my hand. Normally when you trim a helicopter, you have it on centre trimmer mode. You have to release your stick and let it centre. The reason for that is because we all have centre mounted springs on our joysticks, unless you're using force feedback stick. Then they have to simulate how that works, and they simulate it by you trim, you relax your stick and let it centre, but the stick in the helicopter in game remains at the position you trimmed it. So that's effectively your new centre point for your real life stick. And when your real life stick's at the centre in real life, it could be 3/4 or half an inch further forward, all that, and you have to take it into account. For some unknown reason, people struggle with that concept. The people who struggle with it are people who don't fly helicopters and are fast movers, and then they go and get the Apache, and then all they do is whinge and blart about it. Okay, blart's Midlands word for cry about it. And they kicked up so much fuss and demanded that Eagle Dynamics, right, put in a trimmer reset in an Apache when it doesn't exist in real life. And you know what, I can't believe they did it. And I did make a post and I couldn't believe it. I was berating them a bit, and it was just because they couldn't get their head around trimming, because they don't want to learn how to fly it. They just want it to do what they're telling it to do, and you know, there's a level of difficulty associated with helicopters. But if you go about it the right way, it does accelerate your learning, basically. Let's see what happens here, shall we? Come on. Look, there it goes again. Nope, come on, stop it. Yep. I've landed on a piece that isn't so slope now. So what we're going to do then is... I'm sorry, what was that? Did I hear tittering?
I was watching you.
Uh-huh.
I thought you were taking over, but
No, I was just basically bedding my wheels into the soil, making it more stable. So what I'm going to do now... Yeah, no worries. Say hello to your mum for me. Say some weird guy from over the sea said hello.
yeah.
Is she staying for Christmas?
No, she's going.
Oh, that's nice.
She's leaving tomorrow.
Oh, right. No worries, mate. So have a good time with her. Make the most of it.
See you later.
See ya. Tell her a bit. Right, so we're going to put on some air-to-ground missiles, right? And ever since the FCR, or Fire Control Radar, come out, you want Ls, which are laser controlled. The way this mission is written, it will not only allow you to have 2 sets of 4. So when you go into other areas, you'll find... Hang on a minute. Oh, this is a different... Oh, this is a different mission. Sorry, I'm so used to doing these missions. We've got to watch the weight, because now I'm going to get a stick with a hat on. Otherwise, no, I'm not going to get a stick with a hat on. Yes, I am. That's it. So a stick with a hat on is a fire control radar. Now, if we look, we're a little bit heavy. Do we want to be this heavy? Yes, sod it. Let's do it. We've only got 50% of fuel. So I'm going to push it up another little bit. I can probably get it up a bit higher without losing too much control. And we're going to say, okay. If we don't get a copy, it won't refuel, as I said before. Right, so now, when you've done that, right, if you notice, I haven't had to do anything with the radios to make it work, unlike in the Shark. So we're just waiting for this to refuel, rearm, and you'll see the weapons going on the sides. It's going to be very heavy. Earlier on I was talking about torque, wasn't I? So you can see the torque here is 21%. Now I'm going to be heavy, so to actually get this into a hover, I'm going to have to use a lot more torque because of the weight that I've got. So it's giving me a less of a window of control, and if I do it wrong, I just drop out the sky. That's it, job done. Okay.
Thank you for the 12 long.
Hey, Yam. You alright, Yam? How are you, matey?
Mel said, thank you for the DR1 resub, Pedro _McLeod.
Right, I'm going to arm my countermeasure system now.
Really appreciated.
I'm going to. Has that been 12 months already? It's a long time, isn't it? And I'm going to go bypass. I'm going to take off, and if you notice, there's a little button down here. It says arm.
Said, hey, just got back from a massage. Pretty worn out.
Text massage or a normal massage? And was it a walking on your one massage? Or is it the woman from down the street? So what I'm going to do now is take off. Okay, a little bit wobbly, a little bit heavy. And I'm going to just look around and unpause my track IR, and we should see there's 2 things I should see. One is I'm looking for the doodad. Have I set it? Did I set a direct to waypoint 4? Did anyone notice? Probably didn't, did I? So we'll go down here and we'll go to RTE. come on. And we're going to go to waypoint 4. That's 3, that one there. Just bibbling around at the moment. That's better. Right, the other thing I'm going to do, let's have a look around now and we should see a marker. Can't see where it is at the moment. Right, let me get control back. Right, so this shot your roll. This basically works in a similar way.
In the town with wooden sticks.
Oh, right, okay. Did she like beat you with them or poke them in you or what? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press and hold the equivalent of the trimmer that we have in the shark, right? And I'm going to use that line to slowly pull the helicopter in the opposite direction while I'm holding the trimmer. Oh, there's the target area. And as I'm doing it and we slow down, I'm going to have to give it more left, a little bit more left and more torque. Okay? And you'll see it's starting to drop, and I've got to be careful because if I give it too much torque, it'll drop the RPM. I'll lose the rotor or tail effectiveness. Right, I'm just slowing myself down, and when I'm going quite slow, I'm going to let go of the trimmer, and I'm going to then put on the attitude hold. And when you go less than 40, right, the attitude hold assumes you want to get into a hover. Okay, so it'll try and get you into a hover, and then I'm going to just drop the altitude, make it stable and hit the altitude, right? And then if you wait just a little bit, it should go into a hover. That 7 in the box there is telling me that there's a 7 mile an hour wind, and if you look at the way we're drifting in the same way as the smoke, more or less. Okay,
Thank you for the follow, Glowho.
so what I'm going to do, hey Glowho, thank you for the follow, is I'm going to hold the trimmer
Thank you for the follow.
and I'm
Glowho
just going to
187.
move my stick a little bit more to the left to try and counter that little bit of wind, and then let go of it again. Okay, and you'll start to see that the helicopter actually gets into a good hover, but look at the blades. Can you see that? The blades have an angle to the left, and do you see what I mean, by the way? You still hear the guy who was on before, I forgot his name, when he was talking about, he said that this doesn't have as good a hold as the shark, but that looks pretty good to me. Okay, it's just understanding how it works is the main thing, and just trying to get that adjustment. Now if you look up here, you see these blue boxes have come on, and you see these other little green lines. Now if it gets any input at all, okay, that basically
Ian_D_Win said, does the trem imitate input, or is it a separate system?
it's a little bit difficult on this. So it's sort of, what does it do? It's angled the blades over and it's holding it, and you can manually help it before you trim. Now in a helicopter, in a Huey, all it's doing is basically holding your cyclic in place. So I think it holds. This is different, and this is why I'm struggling, because it's doing lots of different things. The trimmer in this basically trims. This and this are sub systems, right? But they're not the trimmer. So this is in addition called attitude hold, and it depends on how fast you're going as to what it does. Okay, so this is why I'm struggling to explain with this. It's the one that's really weird. If you're going over 40, this will hold your attitude, which means you can fly at a pitch where your nose is slightly down or slightly up and you're flying forward. but you're not climbing and you're not going down, and it will hold you in position. The altitude one will maintain your altitude, but if you go less than 40, which I was, and I also slowed it down as slow as I could get.
Okay, so it's
That-
a system of the game engine.
it's a subsystem.
Physics and engineering of the
Yeah,
aircraft.
it's yeah. So basically, it does the job that it does in real life. The only difference is if you look at the stick now, right? That is pitched slightly to the left, and it's not much. See where my rudder is. See where my stick is. Okay, my real life stick, my real life rudder are now centered. So when I move them like this, that will move straight away, but from that centre. And my rudder is based on that centre.
Yeah.
Do you get the gist? But it simulates that aspect of it. When you're in the Huey, it works more realistically, in as much as the fact that no, it does the same thing. What I'm on about, sorry. The Huey does the same thing, it just trims the rudder. But you can see this. You can do this with one of these, with an Apache, okay? A Shark more so. But it's a case of A, having that touch, and B, able to see Cookie, I do have a touch. Yeah, I get slapped usually though. So it's having that touch and then being able to make that adjustment to stop it blowing over to the right. So I've counted the wind that was blowing up from the smoke, that now it's coming back. Do you get the gist?
Yeah, I understand.
So now,
The process is separating the game physics simulating real world against real world
Yeah.
stick input.
yeah. Have you ever flown, by the way? Just out of curiosity. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the trimmer, which disengages it, and as I start to move, if I put more than a 4% input, then the attitude will start having a problem. And if I put more than 6% or the other way around, I can't remember the exact figures on this. So you've got two different settings, a 4% and a 6, I think. Then you'll find that the pitch will have a problem and you'll hear a beep. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm holding the trimmer. So I've reset it. I'll start to move. You'll hear a beep. You'll see a little light flashing.
Scripting to a lot of technical documentation and one-to-one with engineers working on them.
Ah, right, I gotcha. So you heard the beep and it says attitude hold. So it's not holding it, but look what I'm doing. I'm moving. I'm going over there. If I put this nice and steady and let go of the trimmer now, because I am moving, it should hold the attitude that I've got. Now it's going to blow a little bit over to the side, but fundamentally it was going where I was going, but I think the wind's hitting it a bit. Also, why is that going there? That shouldn't be going there. Did I accidentally... Where? Oh, bollocks. What's firing missiles at me? Already they're moving in, aren't they, on the base? Unless someone's flying and shooting at me. Or there's a plane over there. I think there's a helicopter coming in. An Mi-28. Now the question is, can you throw this thing around? Yeah, you can. The trouble is, I've got that much weight on it. I throw it around, it's not necessarily going to do what I want it to do. It's just going to keep going in the way that I try to brake. And I'm not sure what's fired a missile at me either, whether it's a helicopter, a plane, or there's something else moving in. So see the torque? If I let that get too high, it will start to decrease the RPM. If it decreases the RPM, I'm going to start to drop. If I start to drop, what's your instinct? Give it more collective. If you give it more collective, it drops faster. So you have to flatten the blades, flatten the pitch on the blades, right? And just move the helicopter in any direction. So what a vortex ring state is where you get turbulent air around the blades. It reduces the lift so that you haven't got any lift at all, okay? And you drop. And if you try and increase your climb or your altitude by increasing your collective, that will make the VRS worse and you'll drop faster. And it's very counterintuitive how to get out of it, and you literally just flatten the blades and push your cyclic in any direction. And it's a good thing to learn with a Huey. Now let me just check what range am I, 16k. Right, while I'm going over here, if we can just get over these trees, and I hope I've got no armour. What's the time? Because oh, it's 1:15, that's fine. I'm going to try and slow down.
A pitch adjustment over a power issue?
Yeah, you basically want to change your pitch, and it's always a good idea to pull back on your nose once you've recovered from it. It should only take about 10 feet or so to recover from it, and it's not the 10 foot that's difficult, it's recognising what's happening. And very often when you're in this thing, it will catch you, and then suddenly you've got to do something, and it's like driving a car, right, over in a different country with everything the wrong way round. Your natural instinct is to base it off the car that you used to drive in your own country, and your hand will go and hit the door because you instantly go for your gear and your handbrake, which is now on your right hand, you know what I mean? And it's that sort of effect. So as I'm slowing down, it's starting to drop, so I'm increasing the torque, right? I don't need to go too high, I'm just sort of getting an idea of where it's getting to. And I've slowed it down, putting more left rudder on it, because I want to switch something on and I don't want to go bowling into the enemy territory. You can see it's still dropping, and look where my torque is. When it's boxed, I'm getting warnings. Okay, so I'll do that. Take my feet off, see if I can get it stable. It's still a bit, still needs a bit of adjusting on the trim.
Spanish and eraser, I honestly don't suffer with this problem.
That's fair enough. You just automatically switch into it. But this is one of the more trickier helicopters to utilise. Yeah, it's one of the trickier helicopters basically to fly. Now he knows I want to go into a hover, but it's been pretty unstable at the moment, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's something coming up my ass. But let's see. I'll help it out in a minute when it stops fidgeting around. So all I'm doing is just gently moving the stick in the direction of the line in the opposite direction, trying to keep that little circle somewhere towards the middle. That'll just assist it. And now I'm just going to do the same to the altitude, really smooth, very small inputs. Right, so what I want to do, first of all, I'm going to...
The blue square around the silic represents what?
I think, I can't, what do they call them now? It's basically the range of movement that you've got before it loses sleeves. I think they call them sleeves. So as far as I'm aware, I did know my way around it all. It's how much movement you've got within the confines of the trim, I believe. But please don't quote me on that. As I said, unfortunately, I've forgotten. I generally know what it's doing, but I couldn't give you the detail on it. There's a couple of videos out there, and it is in the manual. This is not my best helicopter, believe me, because I'm not getting the time to practice, which should change soon. Let me just nudge this to the left a little bit.
It's what I thought, yeah.
Right, okay, so what I want to do here is go to FCR, go into TSD. This is too bright, just got to be careful where I'm going. Right, FCR, util. The mass mounted radar thing is basically pinned, so you press this button, it unpins it. Then we want the FCR on, but we can override the bit test, the built-in test, and then we've got it on. Okay, now even though it looks like we've got it selected on there, it's not selected yet, so I'm going to press this button and now it's selected. Okay, we also get this over there. There's something else I can switch on, go onto this seascape, and when I hit a button it'll do a scan. Okay, so as I'm getting close to the target, then it will basically allow me to do a scan. The scan's only going to do 8 kilometers, which is the range of the missiles. But when you find targets, believe me, you can, I'll show you how to do it. If we come across a convoy that hasn't seen me, what we can do is when the missiles come up, I haven't got any selected at the moment, but I'll select them. We're still in safe mode at the moment, so I need to select the missiles. I'll do that in a tick. You must remember that when you set the trimmer or change it, you must center your stick. If you do not center your stick, what will happen is that I've got the missile selected now, by the way. What will happen is you have no input, and you'll get caught out by that as well. So if you forget to center your stick after you've trimmed it without realizing, you'll find that you end up not having any input at all. That's why I said just be careful, because in this it's your feet and your hands, whereas in most things it's just your feet. I bypass the countermeasures so that I can do them manually. If you use your countermeasures on automatic or semi-automatic on most things, you may as well wave goodbye to them because they'll be gone. I've got a range of about 13 kilometres. Why on earth the Apache uses kilometres, I don't know. What was that, Charlie?
One got through. Hit the main deck.
It does not much damage, does it?
Now, there's quite a few different things we can do with this scope. We can make it look left and right from our position, literally by clicking on there, and you can see it moves position over on the right, although on our main screen there's something over there. Where are you, Stingy? Are you not far behind me by any chance? Stingy? I've got a helicopter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to shoot yours if you're not careful. The trouble is, but
Like the
oh, he's not in a helicopter. Why on earth are my guns not firing? Can you hear me clicking the trigger? Now I can't just fire these Hellfires at a helicopter unless I'm in air-to-air mode, but the last time I tested it, it didn't work very well. I haven't got time to switch the guy on. I hope this isn't our base. Interesting. I wonder if someone's on the server with us. Oh well, never mind. We still selected 2. No, we should be on 4 and we're not. Now, because I'm an old fart, I can't always read some of this stuff. It's one of the reasons though why I sort of pause, move in so you guys can read it and so I can read it as well. Let's move this back. You can move this with your head as well if you want. Oh, great. Now this is where you've got to be careful because you... Yep, you see? Where's that missile? Where's But it was that helicopter that was here. There it is. If only I could guns. Come on, where's my... Why have I got no guns? I think it's because I've got the FCR on and that's overriding. Let's have a look. Let's put my wingman on, gunner.
It's disappearing, that helicopter.
Yeah, I can't fire any guns at the moment. I think my FCR's overriding it.
Saw it on the map, went to lock it up, disappeared. I think it's landed.
It's just in front of me.
What the hell's that?
Not really sure. It's probably just the skins, the confusion. Gonna shoot at me in a minute. I'm trying to get my little man on.
A graphical glitch. It looks like there's a big lovely nuclear bomb drop.
Oh, hang on, there's shambles on.
Why?
Because Sam often drops nuclear bombs, doesn't he? Why? Something is not right here, hang on. Oh, see that VRS? Look, can't get out of it. Did you see what happened? Now he comes on. So basically what was happening while I was messing around trying to get my co-pilot up and awake, it wasn't coming on, and now he suddenly come on just as I was dropping. But because of the way I started dropping, there was not a lot I could do. I know I only need 10 foot, but I was focusing on the other bit. So now look, he's suddenly there. So I can select him and he would have done something, he would have shot at him. And never mind. Anyway, okay. What else while we're at it? 129. I may as well go through the Huey. I've only got about half hour left. Huey, if anyone is interested in helicopters, it's the thing to start with. It's very simple the way it works. You're flying it. If you want your mates to get in with you, they can. So your mates can be the co-pilot and the two door gunners, okay? Just shut the door. Look up to the top. Just going to use this bottom right panel. We're not going to worry too much about lights and things. We'll switch on the AC, rotary to AC phase 1 click. Essential buzz 2 clicks. We're going to switch the main generator on. We're going to put the battery on and we'll hear the low RPM warning. Low RPM is just to the side of the fuel, which is the bright yellow one. So we switch that back. Switch a fuel on. Switch a hydraulics forward, force trim forward, and then the chip detector forward and release, okay? Move the throttle all the way up and all the way down. Easiest key is page up, page down. You can obviously put the mouse on it like I just did. I've got it signed to my second throttle control, and so I can only do it once it's gone above. Let's show you. There's a line down here where this normally sits under there, and that has to be unlocked first, which is what you can do with page up. We're then going to look at the gas producer. We're going to hold the starter button down and keep our ears open. You'll hear the engine start. Oh yeah, I can imagine. Do they do a lot of false positives? You can hear the engine starting up. we're going to let go of the starter when the gas producer hits 40. And it'll carry on. Now if it doesn't and you just hear the engine drop as soon as you let go, you probably haven't sorted your fuel out, more than likely. There's a little bit of a shake. This is the RPM for the engine and the rotor. If you notice, you got the rotor on the inside dial, the engine on the outer one. It will stop at 40. So I'm going to start turning the throttle and increasing the fuel to the turbine until these two needles, there are two needles, are in the green. The model was changed probably some time ago, and now the RPM will drop when you start putting load on it. So you do need to make more adjustments, and you also have to be aware of the temperatures because it can catch fire and the engine will burn out really easily. So for now we're going to sit just beneath the top. We're going to look down here.
If there is any identification
Yeah.
proof of any kind, they sent an oil sample for a mineral test. If it's over limits, it's not cheap.
No, I can imagine. Yeah, so basically what the chip detector does is it looks into, is it the housing at the top, and checks to see if there's any metal fragments. What does it use to check for metal fragments? It's not a visual thing, is it? It's going to be, what is it? Magnetic in some way, or what? What does it do? What's it measuring? Or is it just sending a current through?
Maintenance is scary money.
Oh, and I know it is. As I said, more my customer down south. So as we see here, right, we've got two lights on. One's IFF. There's an IFF radio by the pilot's co-pilot's right knee. So we just switch the button, one click to the right, it goes. We don't have to worry about anything else to do with that because it doesn't function. And there's an inverter. The inverter's up here. And if we press that down and this one down, the reason why I do it wrong is because after one patch all my mouse buttons flicked, and after doing the same thing for 10 years, you go on to something that you got 10 years worth of muscle memory and I still can't get it right. Okay, so if we look, we've got main master caution.
It's magnetic. Metal particles close the contact.
Ah, right, okay, that makes sense. Thanks, Kev. So basically, we've got to reset that. That will come on and stay on whenever there's an alarm down here. If it's cold, for instance, you need to put the de-icer on, and you'll see that come on. You put the de-icer on, then you do a reset. We do a reset by pressing this switch forward, and it's gone, all right? When you're flying, you don't look down there, you look out here. So having that come on is handy. It just alerts you to an issue. You've also got to manually align the electronic compass with a magnetic one. A lot of more modern helis, you don't need to do this, but there's still a few kicking around where you do it, and there's also, back in these days, you'd need to do it. If we look, we can see the needles 2.5 notches in between the south and the 15. So we're just going to turn this synchronizing knob until the top, or the 12 o'clock position, is in between the south and the 15, and it's there, right? Now as I turn it, you'll see here we've got a little window with a circle and a cross. If you can see a circle, it's too far one way. If you see a cross, it's too far the other. So you need half a circle and half a cross. And even then you're arguing with yourself about, is that half a cross? Or is it just over half a cross? But if you look here, that's exactly 2.5 notches either way. The other thing, these are reversed. Don't get confused and turn it the wrong way. Another thing to be aware of is you can turn this through 180 degrees and you'll get half a circle and half a cross, and then you'll be going in the opposite direction to what you should be. So if you look over here, just make sure that you're looking in between the S and the 15 and not the north and the 33, which would be there. Okay, and then it's set, and that's it. And when you're crashing this, it's so quick and easy to get back up in the air. Hey, hello matey.
New mission.
No, I've been shot down. I don't know what you mean. There was some uneven ground earlier where the helicopter had a bit of a problem, but that entirely wasn't my fault. It was like a 90-degree slope, side to side. Would you believe it? Where you refuel and stuff like that. So it wasn't me. Did you like Lisa's message, by the way, to you? We should tell you where to get off.
Cookie Monster 72 said.
Yeah, long grass. It tangled around my rotor. It just hadn't cut it. What more can I say? So when you take off on this,
Flying said, I did yes.
have you been thinking up a suitable reply that involves sticking it up your ass or something, by any chance? Because I know what she'll say. She'll go, Mel told me to say it. Anyway, you need about 30% of left rudder. That's pup. No, it's not pup. Unless he's back. 30% of left rudder.
Into that sort of thing.
Right, and then slowly increase your collective. If you do nothing and you leave this down here, okay, you take off, you go forward, you roll over to the right.
Jeff said, conflict cancelled due to uneven terrain.
Exactly. Okay, so what you need to do is counter that forward movement and that roll by moving this forward, and as we start to go light on the skids, we're going to pull back on the stick and move it slightly left as well. Listen to the engine.
Flying said, I need a new monitor.
Get one of these, mate. You will love it.
The underscore LI said, the blind 360 take off. No rudder full collective.
Okay. So as soon as you do that, you can see you can start to stop it from turning. If it does turn, just relax your turn to the left. All right. And if it starts running away with you, just go in the opposite direction a little bit when you go in. Now look at my stick. This is what I'm using to control it. Can you see the movements? Tiny little nudges, and that's all I'm doing. And the helicopter's moving. If I want it to stop, tiny little nudges, slightly backward and to the middle. Okay, when I go forward, tiny little nudges, forward, middle, forward, middle, forward, middle. And that's what I'm doing. And that's how you can control it, as I was saying earlier. Now I could trim it.
Platy trying flying said, LGUW 29 inches IPS panel.
How much do you want to spend? That's the thing. The monitor I've got is...
the underscore LI said, I was flying here the other night. Have they done something to the 4-string? I couldn't get it to work to save my life.
No. So...
Platy trying flying said, 500-ish.
Right, if you can stretch a little bit more.
Jeff said, get one like mine, Platy. You'll never have to turn your central heating on ever again.
What I was going to say, Platy, if you get one, if you can get the same as mine, it's 500 quid cheaper than when I bought it, right? It's a little bit more than that, and it is a TV. It's an LG 42C3. They're going to be rare as rocking horse shit, but if you can get one, it's worth it. Picture quality is amazing.
Ed Miliband has seen to it already.
And right, and all I was going to say is the colours are superb, the quality is amazing. It will do 120 hertz, no problem at all.
72 said LGP.
Yeah, don't you start. It's a really good monitor, to be honest. Unfortunately, anybody who I knew that might have been able to afford me a discount in some way just upped and disappeared. So I'm not saying any more than that.
Platy trying flying said, who's the bloke?
I know, exactly, Platy. Okay, so I've come back down again and I've left all the trim settings as they were.
72 said, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. When I'm in line for a monitor and I end up paying 1,300 quid for a monitor, I'd buy another one, but I can't just at the moment. As I said, my job sort of position changes and I save some money, but I can't instantly just do it. Otherwise, I buy another one of these. They are superb. You move the text up, I can read this and my head's probably 3 foot or over away from the monitor, and it's just in that right position. It makes my 27-inch monitors look tiny.
Kev said, no comment.
Right, okay, so we need... Can we get gunners from here? Let's have a little look. See if we can get some gunners. So I'm going to get a minigun. No, we can't. We can't get gunners because helicopters in this mission are... it's either not available, right, because of where we are. I'm probably at the wrong place, or the mission won't allow it. So some of...
Think what you saved on heating.
Oh, yeah. So basically, you can get door gunners. You can get a gunner on the front and rockets if you want, which would be too heavy. But in this mission, I think this is used as logistics. So I think this could be, yeah, logistics hub. So I need to fly over there, which if we look around and I take off, by the way, I just automatically do what I explained earlier. Could be over there. Let me have a little look on the map. Nope. It's the other one. Yeah, that's it, more over here. So there's a little pad there. Again, now I'm moving, I'm slowing myself down already. When you want to come down into a hover, ideally, because it's much easier than trying to plant your skids straight onto the floor somewhere. If you've got any slight sideways movement, what will happen is you'll just tip over. If ever you're going to have any movement, it needs to be forward or back, and you'll skid, hence the name. The only problem is with that, though, is once you've skidded, you suddenly stop and you'll rock, and you've really got to be ready for that rock. So for those reasons, it's much better in the Huey if you try and come to a hover and then land. So you would have slowed the helicopter down and then landed when you're stable. Now I still haven't adjusted the trim. So with the trim, who was it who asked? Real Highway. So when you were setting it, did you press the button and then let go, or were you holding the button, or how was you setting it? Did you have the little trimmer, the force trim switch forward, which is over there, and is your trim set to center trimming method? Those are the three things you need to be aware of. Now I can't remember if we're supposed to land on the pad or just go around by the pads. So once you start literally with this, you learn to fly it. You can just do absolutely anything you want with it. You know, you really can control it. If you're in VR, you'll get a lot better perspective.
Switch was forward. Tried both hold and press. I'll have to check the special options.
Yeah, just make sure. It probably says default. The default used to be center trimming mode.
Trying flying for the tier 1 gift sub to Cookie Monster 72.
Thank you.
Thank you for the tier 1 gifted subscription to Cookie Monster 72.
There you go, Cookie. You got no excuses. The trim, when you move your stick, now I've got to be careful because obviously my engine's going, but if I'm... excuse me. It is one of mine. It's great fun to fly. If you can get the control over it, it's brilliant. And then you can get your gunners on and start doing stuff with it that you didn't believe was possible. So if I move that forward, right, and press my trim once, as soon as I press it, I let go, relax the grip on my stick, you'll see the little bobble, and you'll see that this is stuck in that position. Now, if you were on the floor when you tried it, obviously you've got to be started up and you don't want to go moving it very far. But if it's not doing that, then usually it's the button, it's the trimming method, or you might have some alarm. You just need to check. There's not many things you can get wrong with it. So if I look down here, for instance, and we switch that off, I had to check which one it was. When I go to trim it and I press the button and let go, it just goes back. Alright? So that's the main thing there. Now when I switch it on, it should stick again. Now notice when I let go of my stick, the stick is in the forward position where it's trimmed. Right? Now I'm moving my stick fully forward. I'm now turning it round to the outer edges of its movement within the joystick base, and I get nothing. As soon as I start to relax the grip on the stick and the stick centres, as soon as it crosses that centre position, you'll see it bobble. There it is. But the stick in game stays forward and my stick's in the middle. So when I move it like this, my stick's right in the middle and my reference point is there. Hey CJ, you all good? Right, so let's see if I can get anything from here, and if so, nothing from there. Maybe from here, other logistics. Right, I thought so. Infantry. A stringer team. So now I'm weighted. So this is scripted, okay? So this the guy who put this together is Polish, hence why that would be spelled as stringers. The other thing is this weight is added to your helicopter. So what you need to be aware of is when you go and load stuff with a lot of the scripts nowadays, that weight is added, whereas in the old days, right, it wasn't added. Is that rain coming into my helicopter there? Oh no, it's out the window and it's grass, not rain. Okay, let's have a look at the waypoints. Now, earlier on we did decide that there was some, these are all dead pilots I think, that there were some things in the air. So I'm going to set a course and then bring them over to possibly here. Okay, let's put a circle there and I'll drop off these guys. Where was it there? Okay, and that will be my point I'm going to. It's not too far, it's probably about, I don't know, 8 mile possibly. Let's have a look, measuring from here. 10 mile. 10 mile 163. So now I'm going to set the course using the set heading to, did I say 163 or 183? 30, 40, 50, 50, 63 is about there for about 10 mile. Alright, so I'll take off, turn round. That extra weight is on my helicopter now, so you might hear my engine go down again when I start to take off. Can you hear it? Start giving it a little bit more throttle to counter. I bring the little puck up to the top and I need to go to that location, and I'll try and go without crashing into the trees and without being in a position where something's going to shoot me. If I could have picked up some gunners, I could have set them so they would have shot at what it was that I was trying to shoot earlier, but I got my FCR on. So when you start moving, you can set your trim, you can relax your stick, and it should go fairly straight. I've got no hands and feet on. It needs a little bit of adjustment, but it's enough that you can drink a cup of tea. And as you can hear by my voice, I haven't had a cup of tea for a while now, considering I've been talking incessantly. It's about 10 to 2, so once I've gone and dropped these guys off, I'll call it then. I have to stop after about 4 hours, otherwise I hit an issue where my legs start to swell up and my ankles. And I used to stream for about 8 hours a session, and it was causing problems, so I just have to be mindful. So 4 hours will be enough. We have a little look on the map and make sure we're stable. There we are, heading towards target, which is right. There's likely to be things moving around. I've got flares on this, I haven't got them on, so I'm going to just lift my nose up just a little bit so I can look down here, switch on my flares. If we look at the back, we should see flares, he says, that one. There we go. then we can get back down. If we're too high, we just get spotted. So this thing's an approximation. It works alright, it puts you in the right place, but you haven't got any of the systems that we got in anything else. There is a little GPS utility that you could utilise, but once you get used to flying this, once you get used to your map, you don't need it. The other thing you need to look out for is pylons. I can see some pylons in the distance. If you're watching on Twitch, you probably won't see them. If you're watching on the other channel, you should see the pylons quite clearly. And unfortunately, where I've got one of the screens, if anyone's asked me anything from the other side, that's if there's anyone watching. I wouldn't have seen it. I do apologise. So there's the pylons in front. You either go under or over. If I go over them, I'm going to be a bit more exposed, so I'm going to go under them. Don't get transfixed on where the floor is relative to your chopper. Just keep driving and worry about where the blades are relative to the sag in the line. I've also got one of those sticks with a hat on it, so I've got to be mindful of that. I'll probably end up catching it. So I'm going to go a little bit more to the left towards the pillar so that the lines are at the highest, rather than going to the middle where they're a little bit saggy. Speaking of which, I've got to pick the other half up later. Not straight away though. But such is the joys of my Saturday. It's what happens when you work in retail. You know, you end up doing Saturdays and Sundays and stupid stuff. But we don't have any buses where we live on a Sunday, so you can't do Sundays. When you're overtaking, climbing over trees, just be mindful and try and get over before you get there if you're going over the top. We check now, we're probably about halfway. Yep, bang on. You find as you start doing things quite regularly, your ability to estimate gets better. We're doing about 100 knots. So when I come up to drop these guys off, I'm going to have to suddenly slow down. So we've just got to go over this wood into a clearing, and then I'll drop these little guys off and they'll provide some air cover. I know you can't see them in the back, but you've got to pretend. So you want to try and skim the trees. The trees are quite good for cover. It makes it really difficult for you to be seen. It's the same problem as you'll get with the others. I'm not sure what it looks like on stream exactly, but on mine these trees are quite dark because I have the monitor with quite a good contrast. I also have the gamma in the game turned down because it gives a lot better depth of colour and contrast. So in cloudy or cloud covered areas it can make it a little bit dark, but that's absolutely fine. I'd rather have it looking like this with some depth than completely flat and washed out. A quick look at the map, going in the right place. I think it's that little clearing over there, possibly the one to the right. There's two, you notice, or yeah, it's the one to the left actually by the looks of it. So the idea is I drop these guys off and they've got some sort of tree cover, so something can easily fly over them without realising they're there, whereas if something's coming in from the other way they can see it beforehand, and that stops people from killing them.
I usually make those colour adjustments beginning in the graphics card app. Quite useful.
See you later.
See you, Charlie. When you come into land, right, just beware of what the terrain is like. You can see that is leading up to a hill. It's got a whole line of something over there, right? And when you come into land, if you're landing on a slope, you need to make sure that your nose is pointing up the slope. There is a limit to what slope you can actually land on. So I'm going to take them over the other side, and you see that little nook there, just round to my 12 o'clock. So if I drop them in there, it gives them a little bit of cover left and right, and it might mask them a little bit from planes or helicopters that are flying around. But it means when they do pop into sight, they're going to be able to shoot at it and give themselves some cover as well. Now you notice the slope that I was talking about. Got to be quite careful. And what you do is you put your nose up the slope, and I tend to then, as I land, I trim my nose forward. I should be able to get away with it here. If it's too steep, then I'm going to knacker my helicopter. You see we've got SAMs over there by the looks of it, firing at someone. So this is steepish, it's not too steep. So what's going to happen is when I land, the helicopter's going to tip up backwards and it's going to hit the rotor on the floor. So as soon as I've landed, watch what I do. If I can get away with it, that is. I can't say it'll definitely work. Land, push the nose forward, trim it, let go. It's not a preemptive excuse. So if you look, it's a little bit more than I need. But what you try and do is flatten out the slope. So you imagine sea level. Now that's a little bit more than I need it to go. But it's not tipped back at all. So that will hold it in that position. You can see on here where the nose is. Okay? And then when you take off, right, you've got to be really careful, because what it's going to try and do is take off and nose down. And if you don't lift up enough when you take off, or give it enough collective, it will scrape the nose on the floor and the blades will hit the deck. So you just have to be careful. So now we can use the menu to get these guys out. Oh, was there a unload all? And a sling. Where's the button to do it? There's got to be a button somewhere. Anyone see the button? Unload. Unload cargo. Thank you, Solo. You can say Happy Christmas to us. We're not fussy. Yeah, I got there. I was not thinking of them for logistics or cargo. So, for some unknown reason, they all decided to turn the back into the trees. Right? Now you would have thought, I'm going to say, that they'd be clever enough to know that they look that way, right? But it could be that there's a rule that whenever you drop the guys off, they always face the way that you're pointing. Anyway, with that being said, bang on 2 o'clock. So let me sort the other channel out first. I don't care, and I will say Happy Christmas to anybody, just the same way as they come round to me and say happy this, that and the other. And you know, where I work, it's all multicultural. We celebrate all of them at some point, but people shouldn't find some other people's view offensive. Okay. Yeah, no worries. I'll probably stream tonight once I've had something to eat, pick the other half up, etc, etc. And then I'll probably do a Star Citizen stream. I might do this again tomorrow, but I've got a lot on tomorrow. Because then I'm away again Monday. I'm back early Tuesday, then I'm on holiday. And we got people coming round, and I'm doing the same for 2 weeks, but then I'll be free on the evenings and I'll stream a bit more and I'll be able to put my vids together. Hopefully you learned something anyway, and somebody else gained something for the benefits. It's there and it's accessible. It's not live, But what they're not doing, because they've done it multiple years, is they've dropped the big patch live, gone on holiday, and it's fallen over, so no one can play. And then someone has to go to work. So what they've done is left 3.2.3 in place. They've put a preview version so everyone can access it, and the EPTU is still up. But there's a couple of issues with it. But it's very smooth. Frame rate is excellent. Response time is very good. But there's a few odd little bugs things. But it's a nice fly, to be honest. But I'll try and show you tonight. If you come on, you'll catch me on stream. I can't remember the name of that channel. It's a bit of a convoluted one. But I guarantee I'll be the only person who's doing a live 4K stream. And so just look for that. All right, everyone, thank you very much. Let me pass these people on for the others on the other channel. Thank you.